the street lights lit this town like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
Alright, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got just like the street lights lit this town like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
Alright, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that since Simon's down in Boulders, folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. Friday, February 23rd, 2024. Welcome back to the program, folks, live here in central Pennsylvania. I just noticed something that's disturbing me. Battery banks sitting back there on my bookshelf looking kind of disorderly. Welcome back to the program on a Friday, folks. That was Giselle with Boerjol. Yeah, get you started on a Friday evening for folks in South Africa. It's already tomorrow if you're in Wellington, Sydney, Tokyo. Perth just went past midnight as well. So welcome to tomorrow. I'm coming to you from the past. It's 2023, and it is February 24th on that side of the planet, but it is February 23rd here on the East Coast of the United States in the Mid-Atlantic region. I'm Chris, and this is your daily dose, your daily jab, your protection against fake news, op-ed disguised as news, biased reporting, and dishonest journalism throughout the planet, whether it's found in the major broadcasting networks of America, the print outlets of Europe or South Africa, a bunch of fraudsters out there pretending to be journalists. And we're here to give you the facts. Yes, not unbiased. Everyone has their bias, but we admit our bias here. Our bias is correct. As Andrew Wilkow says on his program, the arguments on this program cannot be refuted. I always love that line with Andrew Wilkow. Interesting guy. All right, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We've got a fair amount of news today, a little bit of African news, a lot of South Africa, and a lot of good old USA news today on the 23rd of February, 2024. I was looking at my backyard. It rained like Moses and the flood were coming. The parting the Red Seas, it felt like yesterday, as rain all afternoon, all evening, a cold, damp, chilling rain all day long into the evening. And today, the worms are sucking for oxygen as the ground is filtering with that water, and they're all coming up. And starlings all over my backyard, about 70 of them a few minutes ago, digging up worms. Poor little worms, got to feel bad for them. Yeah, don't feel bad for the ANC or the Democrats, but I do feel bad for the starlings, or for the worms, I should say. Gypsy Backpackers is here at the outset. Teresa, Garrett Gillich. Garrett says he's got load shedding at 6 p.m., so he's gone now. Val Cooper, Hester Kutz is here. Crypto Noob is back. Brian Lawrenson, Erica, Teresa, Sue Walsh. Hello, Sue. Janet Lydian from South Carolina. Helen Duplessis. Hey, Helen. Saw you on, what was it, Morning Shot? No, Retardistan. I think I saw you on there. Ken Erickson's here. Our version of the truth is what we believe. Well, that's what everybody's version of the truth is, what they believe. If I had to agree with you, we'd both be wrong. What's this? I have no idea what you're talking about, Garrett. Yeah, and Alan Coates is here. I missed Alan. Sorry about that. Welcome back to the program, folks. On a Friday there, a little Boerjol to get us going from Giselle. Again, an update for those who haven't been watching the program religiously or faithfully. We have an update on Giselle. I spoke with her earlier in the week, and then she also went on to her Facebook page. Giselle's cancer, fingers crossed, appears to be in remission. and she is doing well. She is no longer losing weight, and she's feeling much better. But a number of tests must be conducted to confirm whether, in fact, it is true. But our fingers are crossed. We're hoping that, in fact, that is the case, that her cancer is in remission. That's some really good news this week. In a world full of bad news, that's some good news. Right. Did I say Moses? Yeah, no. Noah. Sorry, Erica. Yeah. I'll attribute that to a senior moment. Yeah, Noah in the flood. Sorry very much. I confused parting the Red Seas with Moses and the Jews fleeing Egypt from Pharaoh with Noah and the flood. Yeah, that's right. It's been crazy rain here like a flood. Yeah, anyway, back to the point of the news. Let's get to it. So May 29th has been declared a public holiday, as it should be done here in America. That is the day that South Africans will go to the poll, and it is an intelligence test for South Africans. A lot of politicians and commentators now saying South Africa's IQ test is on May 29th. How smart are South Africans? Well, let's not hold our breaths. Voters around the world aren't always as smart as they should be, and they frequently vote against their own interests out of loyalty, misplaced loyalty. And we're likely to still see a number, if not millions, of people in South Africa vote for misplaced loyalty to the rapacious kleptocracy known as the African National Congress. Or, more importantly, out of anger and frustration, vote for parties like MK, EFF, or someone like that. It's a frightening prospect, but it is the reality we're dealing with here, folks. May 29th is a public holiday now, so you can go vote. No excuses. Hello, Cyber Eggs. No excuses whatsoever. As Cyril Ramaphosa, the hippo in chief, Mr. Munir Palapala, issues a proclamation for the election date. In terms of Section 2 Alpha of the Public Holidays Act, I hereby declare May 29th as a public holiday, said the Ramaphosa. Yes, the declaration signed on Wednesday was accompanied by a proclamation declaring the election date, but it has not been talked about. Now we have publicly seen that it is in fact actually a public holiday, which was having a lot of us scratching our heads. Why wasn't it declared a public holiday? Apparently it was, but the media just chose not to share that. All right, sorry, something going on here. I just had to deal with something on my phone. Right, sorry about the distraction there, folks, but I do multitask. I've got more than one responsibility. So it is the end of the line for voter registration. You have just until midnight tonight, South Africa, just until midnight tonight. If you want to register to vote, you have less than 6 hours to do so. You can do so online, and you can go vote for your party of choice, not your candidate. You don't get to select candidates. It's not like this, folks. It's not like this where you get to say, oh, I want to vote for that guy. That's my candidate. I'm going to go to the ballot, and that person is listed there. Not his party, but the candidate. I'm going to pick that candidate. Now, see, if we had a similar process here in Pennsylvania, I wouldn't stand a snowball's chance because I'm not ingrained. I'm not familiar with the party hierarchy, even though I've been participating in their events for a couple of years or several years now, and they would never pick me to be their candidate. But it's not up to the party, it's up to the voters. That being said, parties can, not accusing this party, but parties can still tilt or skew the wheels in favor of their favorite candidate. But in this case, 5 people are running. People get a choice between 5 different candidates to vote for. And there you go, folks, 5 different candidates. In South Africa, you don't have that option, although there are independent candidates now running, a handful of those across the country. But you must vote for a party. Well, you have your last chance here to register to go vote for that party on May 29th. The deadline is rapidly approaching. Herman Mashaba kindly sent me an Action SA reminder to go register to vote. Of course, that's a form email because I've signed up to get their news updates. But yeah, so Herman Mashaba and Action SA reminding people that midnight is the cutoff. This from Business Tech. Only those who are on the voter rolls registered before midnight tonight will be allowed to vote in the general elections, which will officially take place on May 29th. And just 27.65 million people are on the rolls. 1.2 million new registrations since November of 2023. However, there are approximately 38 to 40 million eligible South Africans, so already 12 to 14 million South Africans have shown their disinterest in the democratic process, their willingness to continue suffering under the rule of the ANC. Well, the chair of Eskom is calling for the private sector to save Eskom. Isn't that rich? When the ANC spent 25 years preventing private sector from delivering electricity, only when they were on the ropes did they allow the private sector to invest. We lost 3 decades of private sector growth delivering electricity to South Africans, ensuring a safe, robust economy. But the communists in charge at the ANC didn't want that. Now they're begging for help. Mteto Nyati, the chairman of Eskom's board of directors, said that South Africa's energy sector needs more investment from private businesses. Screw you, Eskom. Screw you. Mteto Nyati. Yeah. In the 2024 budget review, the Treasury said that it has been working in a partnership with the International Finance Corporation to agree on a short-term positions or options for off-balance financing to help this investment project. Yeah, and the reason they need this is that they've lost so much money. To promote further investments in renewable energy, this budget proposed an increase in the limit of renewable energy projects that can qualify for the carbon offsets from 15 to 30 megawatts. So in other words, you can invest in the fantasy, fictional, green energy economy, but you don't get the benefits of it. Now they want to increase that because they're failing as usual. Yeah, they need $350 billion over the next 10 years to transition for the transmission infrastructure alone. Never mind the power generation capacity. Eskom has a 24 billion rand loss. Ladies and gentlemen, that is north of $1 billion US dollars this year. $1 billion US dollars. Approximately $1.5 billion US dollars. That's a lot of quan. And that is because it is a corrupt organization run by fantastical leftists who do not understand the business world. What a sad reality South Africans must live with. A marketplace that was controlled and monopolized by the state for decades under the National Party, controlled, monopolized, and stolen from, and filled with patronage hires by the corrupt ANC for 3 decades. And what do you have? You have a country that is embarrassingly rich in energy resources, rich in human capital, but poor in electricity generation, delivery, and reliability. Consequence of corruption, negligence, malfeasance, and idiocy. Not to mention racially unjust or unjust policies. Unbelievable. Ben Potgieter says, I'm 100% off the grid, run 3 houses and 15 fishing cabins off solar. Well, that's great for you, Ben Potgieter, but most people don't have that kind of money, brother. Most people don't have that kind of money, and it would take decades for them to raise that kind of money, particularly if they've got a house and more than a house. So here's an op-ed piece by an pro-Afro, whatever you want to call people like who promote black supremacy. This woman, Karen Atia, is angry, writing in the Washington Post that the Democrats are turning on South Africa. And she runs through a litany of things here, which she doesn't know anything that she's talking about. Typical pro-black supremacy writers who do this sort of thing. An opinion piece, properly labeled in the Washington Post, so give them credit for that. A new effort to punish South Africa is a terrible look for Democrats by Karen Atia. Yes, she says, no pun intended, but it feels darkly fitting during Black History Month that black and African resistance to oppression is being criticized. Excuse me, black and African resistance to oppression. What oppression are South Africans overcoming? None, unless you're a minority. Earlier this year, South Africa, led by a black majority government, accused Israel and the West by extension of genocide before the International Court of Justice. And then she attacks Germany for defending for defending Israel. U.S. lawmakers now trying to turn scolding into punishment, a bipartisan bill. At least she admits it's bipartisan. The bill claims the African National Congress, political party that's governed South Africa since apartheid's end in 1994, maintains a hard-line stance of consistently accusing Israel of practicing apartheid. Well, they do. The white supremacist system of oppression that long defined South African society. Well, apartheid was not a white supremacist system. The implementation of laws under apartheid, separate development, did result in white supremacy. That is true, but that's factually incorrect what she says. The bill accused ANC leaders of harboring anti-Semitic motives behind their denunciation of Israeli settlements on occupied lands. It's not occupied. It's Israeli land, captured in 1967 when Arabs were seeking to destroy Israel for the 3rd time in less than 20 years. Israel defended itself, protected itself in the Six-Day War, and captured these territories from inept Arabs who lost it. It's not occupied, it's conquered. Conquest, sadly, is a legitimate form of political discourse in the Westphalian system of states. That's why we have international norms for the execution of warfare. Yeah, so she says, calls to punish South Africa have been growing since December when the Lady, 2022, when the Lady R docked in Simonstown. She said, all that, the optics are not good, striking against one of Africa's biggest economic engines for the supposed defense of standing against genocide and apartheid. It's not a supposed defense. There is no genocide. There is no apartheid. These are fictional lies and anti-Semitic attacks on the Jewish state by the African National Congress. Clear and simple. Now, if South Africa want to complain that Israel is attacking Gaza and civilians are dying, they can make that argument. That's a legitimate argument. But where is South Africa in Myanmar? Where is the African National Congress in joining the Gambia's case against Myanmar for the genocide against Rohingyas? Where is the ANC on the genocide of Uyghurs, Muslims in China, communist China? Where is South Africa in the argument being made, I think illegitimately, but argument being made because elements of the Genocide Convention are actually present in the Russian offensive against Ukraine? South Africa, of course, is on the side of the totalitarian fascist Putin. They're not on the side of the angels. And they're not on the side of the angels here. South Africa did not denounce Hamas. The ANC did not denounce Hamas. In fact, they met with them and cheered them on and had basically, champagne and caviar with them, essentially. That kind of gathering. Cheering on the murder, rape, destruction, assassination, dismemberment, and execution of civilians by Hamas on October 7th. South Africa is yet to denounce or call out or consider Hamas to be illegitimate. Instead, they attack Israel, a country that was defending itself. The number of civilian casualties in Gaza is horrific. It's unfortunate. But again, unlike Donald Trump and his claim to end the conflict in Ukraine, I can end the war in Gaza tomorrow. It's very simple. And this is all that needs to happen. Israeli Defense Forces will withdraw from Gaza. Israeli Defense Forces will stop attacking to destroy Hamas if two things occur. Hamas immediately surrender all hostages they illegally took in their criminal act of October 7th, along with the remains of those whom they've murdered or who have died in their captivity. And then all Hamas fighters must surrender forthwith to the Israeli Defense Force. And the Gaza conflict is over. But South Africa doesn't call for that. The ANC doesn't call for that to happen. Why? Because they're frauds. And this author is a fraud too, in misstating the arguments going on here. She says, as foreign policy, punishing South Africa doesn't look smart either. The country is the United States' largest trading partner on the continent with $21 billion in traded goods between the two in 2021. Successive administrations, including Biden administration, explicitly declared the U.S. interest in Africa is countering the influence of Chinese. What better way to punish South Africa or push South Africa into the arms of U.S. rivals? Stop. This is an uninformed, black supremacist supporting, idiotic op-ed writer. I'm sorry. You don't know what you're talking about. Push South Africa into the arms of the U.S. rivals? What did Fikile Mabalula just say and Cyril Ramaphosa endorsed? We are your friend, Russia. We will stay by your side, and that will not change. The U.S. is not pushing the communists in the ANC towards our opponents, Russia and China. The ANC is gleefully grabbing them. The ANC establishes industrial parks that only Chinese can occupy in South Africa. They're tax exempt. So they get the grift off the Chinese companies that operate there. The ANC has long been a friend of the Chinese communists, of the Cuban communists, of the Russian fascist totalitarians. We're not pushing them there. And $21 billion in trade with South Africa? What a joke. I'm sorry, South Africa. That means nothing to America. It'll hurt a few companies, but nothing. We have a $26 trillion economy. That is not even a fraction of a tenth of 1% of our total economic output. $21 billion. Now, for South Africa, with a stagnating economy stuck in the $230 to $260 billion range for a decade now, $21 billion is 10% of their economy. 10% of South Africa's economy is traded with and from the United States, beat only by the Chi-Coms who they're in bed with. So that $21 billion means a lot more to South Africa than it does. And they stick their finger in our nose. They poke us in the eye, the ANC does, with Lady R, with expropriation without compensation, with unbridled love and enthusiasm support for Russian dictators, with special privileges and corruption for Chinese. This idiot doesn't know what she's talking about. Wow. And it's bad politics, especially for Democrats in our multiracial nation. Black folks make up 12% of the population. Yeah, okay, fine. Multiracial? Okay, you say so. President Biden's party is not helping his reelection by appearing hostile to South Africa, while black, Arab, and Muslim Americans turn increasingly against administration policy in Gaza. More than 1,000 black faith leaders have called for a ceasefire in Gaza. Last month, USA Today, Suffolk University polls showed that black support for Biden has dropped to 63%, down from 87% in 2020. Well, of course it was 87% in 2020 because many black Americans were uninformed about the plantation of the Democratic National Committee, who keep them bound in chains, as Joe Biden would say was going to happen if a Republican was elected. Yeah. Anyway, they can lay down their arms. Corporations, vineyards, lost big in this corrupt budget from Enoch Gondwana. The chickens have come home to roost for the government, who has seen a large decrease in tax income as a result of the malfunctioning of the state-owned enterprise like Eskom and Transnet, not to mention the corruption of ANC elites who fail to pay their taxes. As a result, Finance Minister Enoch Gunawang announced his budget speech there would be increases in corporate and sin taxes to make up the tax shortfall. Weak economic performance led to a decrease of $56 billion in tax revenue, not to mention they're not getting any more money from shaking down the guilty liberals in the West for vaccine apartheid or for, the just energy transition. To ensure that multinational corporations don't dodge taxes going forward, he announced a global minimum corporate tax rate would be introduced. Excuse me? A global minimum corporate tax rate. So you're going to do double taxation for companies headquartered in Switzerland, in Germany, in Finland, in France, in the United States that do business in South Africa. Take that, pal. Piss off. Foot sec. Yep. Above inflation increases in taxes. So inflation plus this. 7.17% for wine. So you have to pay the increased inflation plus another 7%. 7.17 on sparkling wine and 6.67 on brandy wine. Wow. The alcohol industry has gone bat crap crazy angry at this. In a time when growth and recovery are desperately needed, various crises, including the energy crunch, disruptions to the Port of Cape Town, increases in input costs, to name but a few, are worsening the financial positions the industry is currently in. And that is correct. That is absolutely correct. More tax, more tax, more tax. The destruction of South Africa, stolen and pilfered by corrupt ANC politicians who have brought you potholes, darkness, murder, gender-based violence, rape, mayhem, race-based legislation discriminating against minorities, and land occupation. Well, more cheery news for South Africans as Vodacom increases its fiber price. Vodacom has announced tariff hikes for its postpaid and fiber products effective on April 1st. The average customer's bill for these products will increase by 4.6%. 4.6%. Decision comes at a time when Vodacom continues to invest heavily in maintaining network resilience to deliver an enhanced customer experience. Well, maybe they're trying to replace the solar panels on that office building in Century City that burned a few months back. Maybe they need money for that. Well, Cadre deployment continues to be a mess in South Africa. The Democratic Alliance will rely on the precedent of Jacob Zuma to jail Fikile Mbalula, the Russian-loving neo-colonialist, if records are not delivered. DA will ask the courts to find ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula in contempt if the ANC does not provide it with all of these deployment records. Well, guess what? They've made them disappear, so he is in contempt of court. Let's see if the court has the nads to put him in jail like they did with Jacob Zuma for all of about 3 weeks. Woolies and Pick and Pay are recalling peanut butter ice cream. Wow, who eats peanut butter ice cream? Over high levels of aflatoxin. What is aflatoxin, and should you be worried? Well, probably. A week after Pick and Pay recalled certain peanut butter brands over high levels of aflatoxin, Woolies is recalling their peanut butter dairy ice cream today due to the ice cream containing aflatoxin tax levels that exceed legal limit. My goodness. My goodness. Now, whether that's dangerous or not, Woolworths said it's highly unlikely that consuming the peanut butter ice cream will cause any harm. They belong to a group of molds produced during food production by various fungi, notably Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus, and they are found naturally in the environment and can contaminate a range of crops during growth, processing, and storage, including maize, rice, spices, cocoa beans, and notably peanuts. These conditions are heightened under warm and humid storage conditions. Well, so much for a peanut butter. 2,600 more jobs lost in the stagnating South African economy as Sibanye-Stillwater sacks 2,600 of jobs at its South African platinum mines. They expect to report a loss for last year after slumping platinum group metals and operational problems across the businesses forced the firm to take a charge of 47.5 billion rand. 47.5 billion rand loss for Sibanye-Stillwater, one of the BEE corporate handouts, a company that didn't exist a few decades ago before the corrupt ANC shares and equity distribution from white monopoly capital. Well, members of the economic freedom fighters are in trouble. No, not with Parliament, not with the provinces, not with law enforcement, but with their own party. Deadbeat MPs with no excuse failed to show up for a bid to oust with the impeachment judges, and the EFF is angry, and rightly so. You should be in Parliament if that's where your job is. EFF MPs could be sanctioned by party for failing to attend the Hlope impeachment vote in Parliament. 11 EFF MPs did not attend the parliamentary sitting this week, could find themselves in hot water. They were expected to vote to keep this corrupt judge in place. EFF leader Malema says the party secretary general is asked to correspond with the MPs. 307 people voted to impeach Hlope, and just 25 voted against it. But 5 top EFF leaders are banned from parliament for their domestic terrorist assault on the podium last year in the State of the Nation address on the 9th of February 2023 when they sought to endanger the President of the Republic of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa. And they are suspended from parliament for the moment. And 11 others were simply absent. And that means 16 votes from the leftist hate-wanking EFF that didn't go to change the outcome. It wouldn't have changed the outcome, but it would change the numbers in the Hlope vote. Well, lack of transparency, as I've reported endlessly on this program over the past 4 years, a lack of transparency, dishonesty, and failure, incompetence, and ineptitude are the highlights of what's going on with the ANC's claimed land restitution program. South African government has to date spent 25 billion rand to settle land claims. Hectares have been bought and transferred to land claimants, 3.9 million in total. Much skepticism surrounds these figures since the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development has yet to produce an audited list of land claims because we think it's fictional. The figures were given at the media briefing on Monday by the Minister Toko Didiza. Yes. Outlining research findings on the land restitution program, she said that between 2019 and 2023, a total of 1,494 claims were settled. Beneficiaries were given the option of money and land transfers, and that since the inception of land restitution program, bear in mind that the number I'm going to tell you is larger than the legitimate number of claims that was filed in the period from 1995 to 1999. But a total of 83,067 land claims have been settled between 95 and 2023. 83,067. But we have black land first, and we have the EFF talking about land theft, expropriation without compensation, taking back our land. The problem with that lie is that there is a process, it has been followed, and most people take the money. That's 94% of the original land claims that were filed between 1990, well, it's actually 100+% because it was 75,000 claims, but 83,000 been solved. Because in his period in office, the Jacob Zuma regime reopened the land claim illegitimately, and that led to an additional 142,000 mostly bogus claims and duplicative claims from the previous time. So most land claims have been settled. Almost all. More than 9 out of 10 claims have been settled. So this is just a lie about land restitution and land theft. According to the ministry, 2.3 million people have benefited from the restitution. Yeah. Speaking of Farmers Weekly, Teo de Jager, chairperson of South African Agri Initiative, said the numbers do not add up. In this State of the Nation address, Ramaphosa said 25% of South Africa's land has been redistributed to black ownership. That's far more than 3.9 million hectares. Research about land ownership further shows that 26% of all land belongs to the state. That means only 41% is in the hands of white folks. Another statistic I gave you from the land audit back in 2017 in my report on this on LinkedIn, talking about land. Yep. So, something smells rotten in South Africa. Nearly 2 billion rand spent buying land that has failed, despite South African government acquiring 432,038 hectares of land in the Free State under land reform distribution program since 1994 at a cost of nearly 2 billion rand. The land is not being used for commercial food production. Wow. Municipalities in the province own 203 plots of vacant land that amounts to 245,000 hectares. So that's almost 700,000 hectares of land, potentially productive farmland that is laying dormant. The Free State was but a case study of what's happening in the rest of the country. This is pervasive throughout the country. The corrupt, inept ANC, and this needs to be exposed. I've exposed it in the past, but nobody cares except farmers. Nobody cares about this disgrace except farmers. Nobody. They let the EFF, they let Black Land First, they let the ANC run around and talk about expropriation without compensation, to talk about giving land to poor blacks, land being stolen, and they ignore property rights, they ignore the rule of law, they ignore the reality, they ignore the fact that most land claims have been resolved long ago, 15, 20 years ago they were resolved. People took money, and they don't have a legitimate claim to land anymore. And land that has been acquired has been poorly transferred. There have been no extension services offered, no credit, no training, no advice, no nothing. And virtually every farm that's been transferred to black ownership has failed, with a few exceptions, particularly in the Western Cape, where other commercial farmers, white commercial farmers, have intervened to help aspiring black farmers to keep them from going under. Well, South Africa is looking to extradite Pala suspects, which is puzzling. The lead suspect in the Pala case is sitting right there in South Africa. His name is Cyril Ramaphosa. Mynheer Pala should be suspect number one. There's no need to extradite people from Namibia, but that's what they're doing. South Africa wants to extradite 2 suspects from Namibia for the 10 million theft at President Ramaphosa's farm. Well, suspect number one is Ramaphosa. 3 people arrested last year in connection with the theft of $580,000 of illicit money hidden in furniture at Pala back in 2020. But Cyril Ramaphosa remains uncharged in this corruption case. How is that? Ladies and gentlemen, remember this program a few years ago? I brought you the CEO of the Macadamia Nut Association of South Africa. This was during the lockdown, and things had looked pretty good for macadamia nuts, and South Africa became the world's largest exporter of macadamia nuts. A success story. Also, about half of the new macadamia nut production was in the hands of women and non-traditional farmers. In other words, not white men. Anybody but white men. So, yeah, but macadamia nuts are doing well. But they've gone on some hard times the past few years because sales have been down. Macadamia nut industry is entering a recovery phase as low prices stimulate demand and value adding. Over the past 2 years, the crop fetched significantly lower prices as world economics took a downturn after the Rona-19 lockdowns. The increase in the global production as a result of new plantings coincided with lower demand. In 2023, farmers received an average of $8.25 US per kilogram. That was even lower than the average price of $11.50 back in 2022. So prices were an upward trajectory. They're not expected to reach the highs of 2018, where they sold for as much as $20 US per kilo. That's a huge price swing for producers. Now, folks, some of you know, I've pointed out here that I'm actually running for political office here in Pennsylvania, of course, in the 92nd Legislative District. But if I don't win, then I'll enter the race in South Africa so that I can become a cater and I can live high off the hog and, just get all kinds of illicit money. And I've already identified my new residence. That's right, folks. A neoclassical palazzo in South Africa, in Sandhurst. This is where I will be buying a home once I'm an ANC cadre. So let me just show you the home that I'm going to make an offer on here, folks, just so you know. I want you to see this home. Here you go. So you guys can come visit me here anytime you like, except Monday through Friday or on the weekends. It's a 6-bedroom property with 8,500 square meters and verdant gardens, and it's going to cost me 55 million rand. I figure as a caterer, I could probably get a tender for 270 million rand, and I can more than cover the cost of buying this place. So there you go. All right, so I have a dome skylight, a sweeping staircase, a patio, and several reception areas to welcome all my guests who are welcome to visit me any day of the week except Monday through Friday and not on the weekends. Yeah, so a baronial-sized dining room serviced by pre-drinks anteroom. Wow, isn't that cool? I like that deck with the trees in the middle. A fully fitted study with its own entrance, a hotel-sized pool, gardens, tennis court, and separate jacuzzi and change rooms. The main bedroom suite has its own lounge area and his and her dressing rooms with a bathroom. There's also accommodation for staff, so if anybody wants to be my peons and underlings, you're welcome to work there. You'll have 2 self-contained rooms, 6 garages, and extra parking. Yeah, the seller is motivated, and that's why I'm talking to him. Image of the property can be seen below. Look at that staircase. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at all that tile. My goodness. My goodness. Oh, we should all live so nice like ANC caters. Look at this. This is my next residence. I'll be buying this once I'm a member of the ANC and I get into Parliament. Yes, with my big tenders. My big tenders. Not chicken tenders, big tenders, not chicken tenders. Look at that bed. Ooh, look at that bed. It's got a cover on top. Yeah. That is so nice. Yes, look at that. Whoops. Oh, they hid the picture. They don't want you to see the rest. That's the good stuff. They hid that. So there you go, folks. There you go. That'll be where I'll be living. Nobody's commenting. Nobody's talking about it. What's going on? You don't like my plan to become a cater? Come on, folks. Or are we no longer live? What's going on here? Oh, there we are. Okay. You don't like my plans to become a cater? A cadre for the ANC? I, too, want to live like a king. Yes, that's right, folks. I want to live like a king, just like the ANC. I want to be like Mike. Dylan says, Dylan, you don't live next to the house, man. I can't be your neighbor. I'm going to live there. United Nations condemns horrific attacks in Sudan. by warring parties. UN's top human rights body condemned the horrific violations and abuses being committed during the war in Sudan between the army and a powerful paramilitary group. Since April last year, we've been reporting the devastating war between Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, commander of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, has killed thousands and sparked humanitarian disaster, while the African National Congress, as black people die in Africa, sits silent on the sidelines. What is Cyril Ramaphosa saying or doing? When has Cyril Ramaphosa flown to Khartoum to settle the differences between the RSF and the government military? When has the African Union been present there? EFF Julius Malema, have you talked to the RSF or Al-Burhan? Have you cared about the death of black Africans? No, you don't, because you're all just total frauds. 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 Nothing but frauds. Mozambique, Sudan, Somalia, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad, Central African Republic. The ANC Black Supremacist Party doesn't care about blacks. Fleshin says, my new house looks a bit understated. Well, I agree. I think we should have big pictures of leopards and Iron Man on the wall. Erica says, it's speechless. You want to live in Gauteng. Well, I can't move the house to the Western Cape. Sudanese militiamen carry out wave of abductions seeking slaves and ransom, according to Catherine Horeld and Hafez Haroun in the Washington Post, which is not exactly a reliable publication, so probably truth to this story, but we do take it with a grain of salt. Since the Civil War erupted last spring, paramilitary fighters battling the country's army have carried out a campaign of abductions, killing, and kidnapping for ransom and pressing people into forced servitude, according to 10 victims have since been released and other witnesses. Elements of the RSF, which have captured most of the capital, Khartoum, and swept across most of the western region of Darfur, have made these abductions a lucrative source of revenue. Some of the victims said they were enslaved and sold to work on the farms of commanders, and others recounted being held while their families were forced to ransom. Some victims said they were seized several times. Among those abducted, witnesses and activists said have been girls and young women who have chained, bound, and sold as sex slaves. Wow. Chained, bound, and sold as sex slaves. But apartheid! Apartheid! Jan van Riebeck, oh, the evil white people. Oh, wait. Oh, these people are being abducted and enslaved by black Sudanese. Stop. That doesn't fit the narrative. We have to change the story very quickly. Ooh, let's get the spin masters at the Washington Post out there. In Sudan, a paramilitary group has been enslaving young women and girls. Subtext: black Africans. Ooh, African idiot wants to be the garden boy. I'm not the garden boy. I'm not the garden boy. Cameron, I am not the garden boy. Yikes. Guinea's military junta has lifted its internet restrictions. Well, that's nice. Military authorities in Guinea have lifted restrictions on internet access, which imposed 3 months ago and sparked protest. So now you can go back on the internet. Move came a day after trade unions in the West African country announced an unlimited general strike from Monday to pressure the junta into releasing a prominent media activist. Military, which seized power in 2021, said it had internet restrictions needed because of security problems. Yeah, because people were reporting on your corruption. You don't want that. ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, says it's open to letting the rogue military regimes in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso to re-enter ECOWAS. But, of course, they don't want to be part of it, so... Omar Touré, president of ECOWAS, is optimistic a solution can be found over the pending departure of coup states Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and even Senegal's stalled election. Well, don't hold your breath there, Mr. Touré. Ain't going to happen, brother. They are criminals who overthrew legitimately elected democratic governments, and they are not going to give up power. Benjamin Netanyahu has a plan for post-Hamas Gaza, and it's been leaked to the press. CNN breathlessly carries this story by Richard Allen Green and Elliot Godkeen. Why is it takes more than one journalist to write stories? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu unveiled a plan for the Gaza's future post-Hamas, which includes a complete demilitarization of the enclave, closing off the territory's southern border with Egypt, as well as the overhaul of Gaza's civil administration and education systems. CNN has obtained a copy of the plan, which Netanyahu presented to members of the Israeli Security Cabinet Thursday night. It was distributed as a basis for discussion. Yet somehow the press have a copy of this secret document. Once again, illegitimacy in the press. Allianz, the huge German insurer, sees its portfolio shrinking as it becomes less German. Allianz's shrinking $63 billion property portfolio becomes less German. Again, two authors, Tom Sims and Alexander Hübner. Why does it take two people? Allianz's 58.4 billion euro real estate portfolio is shrinking, becoming less devoted to offices and less German, underscoring troubles in the commercial property sector and the insurer's home market of socialist Germany. The value of their real estate portfolio fell by 6.2% from a year earlier. One of Europe's largest investors faces portfolio pressure in its home market, and the U.S.'s prices and demand for commercial real estate declined sharply. Less German and fewer offices is what's happening here. The German allocation in percentage is dropping. It was 30% back in 2013. It's only 17% today. Look at that. And percentage of offices has gone from over 60 to under 50%. So Allianz is becoming less German and more something else. Joe Biden announces 500 sanctions because of Navalny's death. Yep, Biden announces 500 sanctions against Russia as payback for the war. Biden says the U.S. is levying 500 new sanctions against Russia's military capabilities and the persons responsible for imprisoning Alexei Navalny. Mr. Biden said the sanctions are payback for Navalny's death in the Arctic prison designed to coincide with the second anniversary. These sanctions will target individuals connected to Navalny's imprisonment, as well as Russia's financial sector, defense industrial base. They will ensure Putin pays an even steeper price for his aggression abroad and repression at home. Which begs the question. 2 years after Russia invaded Ukraine, why is Joe Biden just now applying 500 sanctions against Russia? Obviously, sanctions do not work. Russia has had a windfall of $37 billion from oil sold to India, which were reported this week. They've also had a windfall, as I reported when it happened in early 2022 and the war began, a visit to Beijing by Vladimir Putin, secured for him and Russia, trade deals with the Chinese for timber, oil, steel, to keep his economy afloat. So Putin is not harmed by this whatsoever. This is more window dressing by a corrupt, demented man who cannot even walk up a flight of stairs. Well, yesterday we reported that cell phone service was out. One of my viewers said, solar flares, perhaps. But that's not the excuse that AT&T is giving the largest service provider that lost it. And we also saw it here. We saw it on the internet. I couldn't get data yesterday on my live stream. I have it today. No longer the case. So was it solar storms, or was it a software glitch, or was it the Chi-Coms invading our network? Who knows? AT&T says cellular service is back up after widespread outage and some disrupted emergency service calls. Yep. AT&T has fully restored cell phone service to tens of thousands of customers in cities across the country whose phones lost signal overnight. The FBI, in a statement Thursday, said the agency was in contact with AT&T regarding today's network outage. Should we learn of any malicious activity, we will respond accordingly. Yeah, the Federal Bureau of Incompetence probably will not respond to anything because they are opaque, not transparent. So that's just a public release statement. We can't trust them. By the way, in the year 2000, only 3% of Americans had cell phones. And 97% of America had landlines. The plain old telephone system, POTS as we call it. 97% of the country had landlines. Today, less than 1% of the country are people who have just a landline. A small percentage have a landline and a cell phone, but only 1% have just a landline. What a dramatic shift. And we're much more vulnerable now. Landlines are much more secure, far more reliable, and accessible. But you don't transmit data unless you use a modem, so they're not convenient. A private U.S. company has landed on the moon, and they nearly cocked it up. But fortunately, NASA had put an experimental device on there and overcame the failure of this craft. So it was able to land successfully. Private U.S. lunar lander Odysseus touches down on the moon for the first time since 1972. A private robotic rover touched down on the moon Thursday, becoming the first U.S. spacecraft in more than 50 years to land on the surface. The landing of the vehicle, built by Intuitive Machines, marked the first time in history a private company successfully pulled off the incredible feat. The craft, dubbed Odysseus, landed some 250,000 miles away near the south pole of the moon around 6:23 Eastern Standard Time. Although communication between the rover and the crews on the ground was weak, officials said, we're evaluating how we can refine the signal, but we can confirm without a doubt that our equipment is on the surface of the moon. There it is. There's your lander. But it had problems, folks. It had problems. It could not land properly. Equipment failed. The Odysseus targeted a landing site near a crater called Malakperit A, close to the moon's south pole. The long sought to visit the area. It may have frozen water hidden there. So there you go. was programmed to pick in real time the safest spot near the crater. A 6-footed carbon fiber and titanium lander towering 14 feet carried 6 experiments for NASA. The space agency paid $118 million to the tech firm to build and fly the lander as part of an effort to commercialize lunar deliveries. There you go. It runs on solar power and expected to roam the moon for about a week. A week. That's not very long. Voyager 1, Voyager 2 are still in space decades later. Well, here's another. Washington Times changes their story. They took a picture of Trump away. Donald Trump has called on the religious community to join his fight against the radical left. He said, "I'm here today because I know to achieve victory in this fight, just like in the battles of the past, we still need the hand of our Lord and the grace of the Almighty God." Describing himself as a very proud Christian and fellow believer, Trump said he's taken bullets and arrows for social and religious conservatives. Well, I have no problem with social conservatives and religious Americans voting for Donald Trump. That's a good vote. But Donald Trump, a very proud Christian and a fellow believer, not buying that for a second. Not buying that for a second. NVIDIA surpasses $2 trillion in stock market valuation as demand for its video chips, which are in my computer, zoom. Chips that perform artificial intelligence calculations are so valuable that they are delivered in armored cars. This is the AI chip demand is driving, not the video cards. It took NVIDIA 24 years as a public company for its valuation to reach the $1 trillion level. Thanks to chip makers' role in powering the AI revolution, the second trillion took just 8 months. Wow. Journey to become one of the most valuable U.S. companies might have started at a Denny's in 1993, but has been fast-tracked by NVIDIA's dominance of GPUs, or graphics processing units. These chips, worth tens of thousands of dollars each, have become a scarce treasured commodity like Silicon Valley is seldom seen, and NVIDIA is estimated to have more than 80% of the market. So when will the Biden regime start an antitrust movement against NVIDIA for controlling all that marketplace? That's what they do when they go after successful companies. That's what they do. CBS has fired Catherine Heritage, the former Fox national security correspondent, who is right on some things, but oftentimes doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. CBS News fires journalist who investigated the Biden family and seizes her personal notes and research, with a union accusing the network of violating her First Amendment rights. CBS News has fired a high-profile reporter who covered investigations in the Biden family, and the network is accused of seizing her personal notes. Catherine Heritage, who covers national security and intelligence, was among hundreds of CBS employees who were laid off by parent company Paramount last week. In a statement Thursday, the union representing CBS employees said it strongly condemned CBS News' decision to seize reporter notes and research from her office, including confidential source information. This action is deeply concerning to the union because it sets a dangerous precedent for all media professionals and threatens the very foundation of the First Amendment. Of course, that is just bullshit. It doesn't threaten the First Amendment. CBS is a private corporation, not the government. The First Amendment does not protect private citizens from corporations. It does not. It protects them from the government. It protects us from the government. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. So Congress cannot abridge freedom of speech. A private corporation can do what the heck it wants as long as it doesn't discriminate against people illegitimately. Now, in the case of Catherine Heritage, seizing her personal notes from her workspace at her employer, they're not her notes. They're work product. They don't belong to her. Her sources are not hers. She wasn't an independent journalist like me. If I get a source and some newspaper tries to seize my records, that is a criminal act. But Catherine Heritage is an employee of CBS News, or was. And her notes and her sources are work product. She works for the Columbia Broadcasting System News Division. Therefore, the work she produces is theirs, unless she's doing something in her private capacity. But if she's doing something in her private capacity, her personal notes should not be in the offices of CBS. Do you see how stupid people become? They're rushing to defend Catherine Heritage. Now, I'm not attacking Catherine Heritage, but there's no First Amendment violation here. And this union is a bunch of idiots. And this will be entertained by courts, no doubt, because the courts are full of morons too. CBS denies claims it improperly seized her private files and told Daily Mail that it planned to return the materials to her. Her personal belongings were delivered to her home a week ago, and we were prepared to pack up the rest of her files immediately on her behalf. We respected her request to not go through the files, and out of her concern for confidential sources, the office she occupied has remained secure since her departure. Well, so what's the problem? What's the problem? This is all a tempest in a teacup. Well, fewer migrants are crossing the Texas border. Does Greg Abbott get the credit? Or is it just happenstance? Well, the Washington Post, rushing to attack Greg Abbott, says, no, it's not Greg Abbott. It's because Mexico is enforcing the border. That's horse manure. That is horse manure. Illegal border crossings in the U.S. have fallen 50% since the end of December, the month when historic numbers of migrants surged and dealt another blow for Biden's polling numbers. Border crossing trends also appear to be shifting. During January and so far this month, agents have seen entries fall even faster in Texas as migrants head further west to Arizona and California. Yeah, because that's not because of Mexican authorities. That's because of Greg Abbott and the National Guard being on the border. They don't want to run into them. Well, disillusioned about China, America is being invaded by Chinese nationals. The communists are invading our country, and the Biden regime is not protecting this nation. In 2023, Chinese migrants became the largest group outside the Americas to cross into the U.S. illegally. Shortly after 8 a.m., about a dozen Chinese criminal alien invaders rushed out the doors of the Mansion del Darien, a rundown hotel a few blocks from Colombia's Caribbean coast, and piled into 3 tuk-tuks awaiting in the street. We're full of Chinese people every day, said the receptionist. Yes, all criminal alien invaders seeking to violate American sovereignty. And why do I say that? Because more Chinese illegal criminal alien invaders have now crossing the San Diego border than Mexican nationals. The number of Chinese nationals crossing the besieged southern border near San Diego has now eclipsed the number of Mexicans. Border agents have encountered 21,000 criminal alien Chi-Com invaders entering San Diego, compared to 18,700 Mexican nationals. Let's put that in perspective. The United States Army only has a handful of active duty divisions, about 6 or 8, roughly, depending how you look at it. And that is the equivalent of 2 infantry divisions plus have just invaded our border since October. In San Diego alone, the criminal alien invasion of America facilitated by the corrupt communist regime of Joseph Robinette Biden, Lunch Pail Joe, the fraud, the man who says you ain't black if you don't vote for me, the man who says you can't own a 7-Eleven in Delaware unless you have a slight Indian accent, the man who says that the Republicans are going to put black people back in chains when it's actually the Democratic plantation that puts black Americans in chains. That man has facilitated the invasion of this country in violation of Title 42 and his oath as President of the United States to the tune of more people than the entire population of 36 of our 50 states. We have been invaded by more people than the population of 36 of our entire country. 36 states population is smaller in the aggregate than this criminal invasion. Well, the sun is angry, folks. The sun is angry. That's right. Huge solar storms and big solar flares. The latest outburst is the most intense in the 11-year solar cycle. Climate change! Oh, it's climate change! Oh, cow farts and car emissions are driving solar flares. Of course they're not. That's just comical. That's just comical. The top 3-tier X-class solar flares launched off the sun between Wednesday and Thursday. The first occurred 7 hours apart, coming at X1.9 and X1.6 magnitude, respectively. The third, the most powerful in the current 11-year cycle, ranked an impressive X.6, 6.3. Wow, they're ranked on a scale that goes from A, B, C to M and X in increasing order of intensity. So that's pretty intense. 3 flares, 3 radio blackouts. Yep. High-frequency radio waves propagate by bouncing off electrons in the Earth's ionosphere. That's a layer of Earth's atmosphere is between 50 and 600 miles above the ground. When a solar flare occurs, that radiation travels toward Earth at the speed of light. It can ionize additional particles in the lower atmosphere, and radio waves no longer propagate. Bummer. So radios got knocked out courtesy of that. Blue Origin, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, looks to be the buyer of the United Launch Alliance, the joint venture. Blue Origin, the rocket company owned by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, has emerged as the sole finalist to buy the United Launch Alliance. Although the sale is not official, nothing's been formally announced. The co-owners of ULA, Lockheed Martin and Boeing, have yet to comment publicly on the sale of the company, which until the rise of SpaceX was the sole major launch provider for the United States. But now they're just an also-ran because of SpaceX. Well, a Biden-appointed judge has smacked down stupidity. Tosses a climate lawsuit against gas stoves. A class action lawsuit filed by California resident Charles Drake against a major appliance manufacturer over the safety of gas-powered stovetops was largely dismissed by a Biden-appointed federal judge. Tossing this case out. GE Appliances declined to comment. This was about Haier, which is a Chinese company that makes appliances. Well, to avoid hefty tariffs that the Biden and Trump regimes have imposed upon Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers, they are now set to buy land to produce electric vehicles in Mexico to avoid the tariffs because of the U.S.-Mexico trade agreement, U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. Well, Tesla competitors looking for new export base south of the border. BYD, Beyond Your Dreams, looking to build their Chinese electric cars in Mexico. The Shenzhen-based car company's rapid growth has made it one of the world's largest electric vehicle sellers, is scouting locations in the country for a factory from which it would consider exporting cars to the U.S. Well, no thank you. I'll pass on EVs and especially on Chinese-made EVs. Not my cup of tea, ladies and gentlemen. JP Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon, who's led Bank One / JP Morgan Chase for decades, has done something unusual. He has offloaded $150 million of stock. Of course, he's been expressing a lot of pessimism about the U.S. economy. JP Morgan Chase chief Jamie Dimon cashed in $150 million in stock, the first time the head of the U.S. bank has sold shares since taking charge in 2005. Of course, he's been in charge since the 1990s because Jamie Dimon was with Bank One, the predecessor to JP Morgan Chase. The sell-off is part of a larger plan the bank revealed. He could sell 1 million of the 8.6 million shares he and his family own, which makes him a multi-billionaire. So he sold 1/8. So he's going to be worth more than $1 billion just based on the stock. JP Morgan shares are at $183 a share. Interest of full disclosure, I am a small shareholder in JP Morgan Chase. Some of my days when I bought shares in Bank One. GoFundMe seems unfazed by people being upset that people are raising money for the Trumpster, Donald Trump raising money. He's not doing it. Someone's doing it on his behalf. They seem unbothered by flaps to boycott the GoFundMe site. They've chosen not to succumb to demands from some leftist hate wankers to terminate the fundraising campaign aimed at assisting former President Trump with his recent New York civil fraud ruling penalties. Despite a wave of online backlash and calls for boycott, the campaign has successfully raised over $965,000 as of yesterday. The current fundraiser is currently within our terms of service, Jalen Drummond said. Hans von Spakovsky, with a background as a Federal Elections Commission member and currently at the helm of the Heritage Foundation, they found no legal fault with the fundraiser. This fundraising campaign can't be considered campaign contributions because it's paying legal expenses that would exist irrespective of the campaign. Yep. Fundraiser initiated by Elena Cardone, who's married to private equity fund manager Grant Cardone. On the fundraising page, she expressed her unwavering support of Trump, viewing the legal challenges he faces in New York. Yep. Well, there you go. But they caved like a cheap suit when the truckers in Canada, didn't they? Didn't they cave there? Well, Trump's lawyer says good luck to Letitia James, the nasty attorney general. Trump's lawyers say New York Attorney General won't get her hands on the Trump buildings. Attorney General Letitia James said she might seek to seize his assets. A lawyer for former President Donald Trump responded to claims that New York's vile Attorney General Letitia James may seize some of his properties after a judge ruled against him last week. This week, Miss James, a demon rat, threatened to seize his assets even though Trump has a period of time to pay the fine. Speaking to ABC News on February 20th, the Attorney General insisted that if he does not have the funds to pay off the judgment, then we'll seek judgment enforcement mechanisms court and we'll ask the judge to seize his assets. Of course, this is all bogus nonsense, and it will all go away eventually. So the well-meaning do-gooders who always want to help the less fortunate. Nothing wrong with helping people down on their luck who've had misfortune, who've had to deal with unexpected health crises or lost their jobs through no fault of their own. Nothing wrong with that, folks. It's charitable. It's Christian. And also Muslims are charitable too. It's and Jews as well. It is a normal thing in society to help those who are suffering. But when you create programs that give money away to people who've done nothing to earn it simply because, well, they're misfortunate or they're single mothers or they have the right skin tone, well, then look what happens. A mother who was given $10,800 in taxpayer funds for poor families spent it on a luxury Miami trip. I wanted to blow it, she says. A mom of three spent nearly $11,000 in taxpayer-funded program for impoverished families, has admitted blowing most of it on a luxurious 5-day trip to Miami, even getting a $100 glow up to not look like a working mom while there. Sanitia Miller, 27, was one of 132 mothers in Washington, D.C., accepted last year into the Strong Families, Stronger Futures pilot program designed to help those living around the poverty line. She chose to take the no-strings-attached $10,800 lump sum rather than $900 monthly payments, and immediately spent more than $6,000 on the trip for her 3 sons, and their father. I wanted to blow it. I wanted to have fun, she told the D.C. paper. Taxpayer-funded money. My kids got to experience something I would never have been able to do if I didn't have that money. Well, it wasn't your money. For the trips, Miller bought 15 new outfits for her children, one for each child for each day of the vacation, proudly telling the DC paper every outfit they wore was new. She spent $180 getting her hair and nails done, excitedly recalling how good she looked for the trip. I don't have to look like a working, stressed mom, she said of the pricey glow-up. Then in Miami, she spent much of her new cash on steak dinners, new gadgets, and toys for the children, and a boat tour past some of the city's most expensive mansions. She justified her spending by saying she hoped to inspire her children and teach them that if they work hard enough, they may one day be able to afford one of the mansions. If they work hard enough. The only reason they're there is because money was stolen from taxpayers and given to you scumbag bum. She justified her spending. Miller then ate up the remainder of the funds on bills and a used car. She claimed that she needed the money because her financial situation worsened after she had her third son in summer 2022. She paused her education. Is she married? She paused her education, received a degree in social work to focus on the growing family, so she was being subsidized to knock out kids, and was living in a subsidized 2-bedroom apartment at the time, receiving funds from the Temporary Assistance to Needy Families Fund, which gave her $120 a month to cover her rent. But still, she said she was struggling to make her food stamps last. Groceries last us 3 weeks of the month, and then it's trying to figure out the last week of the benefits. It lasts, but it cuts close. So why did she take $10,800 and go to Miami instead of putting that money in the bank and using it to pay for groceries while she improved her education? Well, now that she's opened a savings account, which she hopes to keep $50, an assisted government-funded program taught her how to save money for the future. Really? It taught you how to save money. She's set to begin a new remote job that pays $30 an hour, an opportunity she credits with the confidence she gained from the program. A lot of communities in my area don't know the financial gain of credit or saving for your kids. That's why we're broke. That's why we don't have nothing to pass down or no house to give down. I'm trying to get to the level where I'm passing something down that really matters so I can be set and my kids can be set and they don't need to push so hard like I'm doing now. Wow. So you stole our money and you went on vacation and you're telling us that that inspired you. Yeah. Okay. So Molly Ball, who appears to be, by all of her reports, a leftist working for the Wall Street Journal, or at least a dishonest person, wrote an article about how Trump has turned the Republicans against the Ukraine funding and trying to justify why it's important. Now, this article is full of nonsense, absolute nonsense. I'm going to point some of it out for the viewers that are still here. Wall Street Journal, which was a reliably neutral, slight of right publication, has been captured and is rapidly becoming a leftist propaganda machine. How Trump turned conservatives against helping Ukraine. Billions in potential American aid to Ukraine is stuck in a months-long limbo in Capitol Hill, and the Trump-loving partisans attending this year's Conservative Political Action Conference in National Harbor in Maryland says that's exactly as it should be. I don't want any more funding for Ukraine. That's very important to me, said Sue Era, a 70-year-old retired jeweler from PA. Mark Waymuller, a 60-year-old Chicagoan retired from the real estate business, offered a similar assessment. I don't want to fund the war in Ukraine. The whole thing seems shady. It was a message echoed by speeches from the conference stage. Decide, Joe Biden, which country is more important to you, the border of the United States or the border of Ukraine? That's what Byron Donald said. I haven't voted for any money to go to Ukraine because I know they can't win, said Tommy Tuberville. The annual right-wing confab, it's Maryland's National Harbor outside Washington, was a vivid illustration of the GOP base that embraced Trump's controversial stance towards Russia and led congressional Republicans to move away from their once solid support for military assistance to the beleaguered American ally. Okay, first off, Molly Ball. Ukraine is not an American ally. We have no treaty obligations to the corrupt, thieving kleptocracy of Volodymyr Zelensky. Not our ally. Yeah, she goes on. Trump's always, okay, here we go. Trump's always been in love with Putin, but now a big chunk of the Republican Party is as well. If you grew up with the Cold War as a backdrop, to watch what's happening in the Republican Party right now is absolutely staggering. Ronald Reagan would be spinning his grave. Well, that's bullshit. That's total nonsense. In recent weeks, Trump has declined to condemn Russian President Vladimir Putin for the death of Alexei Navalny. Donald Trump is a private citizen. What is his role in condemning Putin, Tehran, or what happened to Alex Navalny? Instead, comparing his own multifarious legal issues to the plight of the imprisoned opposition leader. He said he wouldn't defend NATO countries that don't meet their financial commitments. No, he repeated a statement. When we asked what he said back in 2016, he said this is what he said. So we have a track record of Trump being president, and he didn't stop defending NATO. That's just nonsense. This is just a lie here. It's just a lie. Yep. Trump's remaining primary opponent. Okay, but anyway, this just goes on and on. This is disgusting. Disgusting. Trump's relationship with Russia and its autocratic leader has long been controversial. During 2016 campaign, he implored Russia to hack and to release Hillary Clinton's emails. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He jokingly said it because Hillary Clinton was committing crimes against the Espionage Act. She was violating the law in America. And so Trump sarcastically said, hey, Russia, why don't you check him? Because obviously her close relationship with the Russians. So actually making such a claim is libel. It's libel. That's not what Trump did. It's libel. And this is in the Wall Street Journal. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. And U.S. intelligence agencies later concluded he benefited from Russian election interference. That's not what happened. That is not what happened. That's a lie. That's a factual lie. U.S. intelligence agencies and the deep state ran a public narrative that that's what happened, but then their reports simply stated that some Russian actors purchased a few $1,000s worth of Facebook ads. Trump didn't benefit from that. That's just lie. That's taking two unconnected things and making a claim. This is just this is in the Wall Street Journal. This is pathetic. This is pathetic. The early years of the Trump administration were shadowed by Mueller's investigation of Trump's links to Russia, which he called a witch hunt and a hoax, which it was. It was. So you're taking the crimes of the Democratic National Committee, the crimes of Hillary Clinton, the crimes of Christopher Steele, and giving it an air of legitimacy by saying it shadowed Trump's administration. It did. But by leaving the other part of the story out, by saying these were fraudulent allegations and claims, what is transgression? Thank you for subscribing. By failing to share that, that's dishonest. In 2018, he stood by Putin and declared he trusted the Russian leader's word over that in the American Intelligence Committee. Well, I think that was a dumb thing to say, but the reality is that you should trust your dog catcher over the American Intelligence Committee. I worked in the American Intelligence Committee. It has become a cesspool. It wasn't when I was in it, a cesspool of leftist fraud. That's what the American Intelligence Committee has become. That's what it's become. 50 former intelligence officers and leaders come out and say that Trump was involved with Russia. That's just total fiction. Trump was impeached for allegedly threatening to withhold military assistance from Ukraine unless it provided evidence. Insisted. Actually, that's not the first impeachment. Yeah, that is the first impeachment. That's fictional too. She says allegedly, but she doesn't mind to tell you how it was a lie. Unbelievable. This is in the Wall Street Journal. This is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. The Wall Street Journal is now a captured, corrupt, fraudulent publication promoting leftist agendas. Just look at the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Let's do that. Let's look at the Wall Street Journal and see what's there now. If I can find a bunch of news that's not news, disguised as news, op-ed. Here we go. So let's take a look at the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. Let's just take a random look. So there's a story in a video. Netanyahu's plans. Blue state residents streamed in South Carolina. Here's why it stayed ruby red. How Trump turned conservatives against the Ukraine. Biden promised devastating response as largely symbolic. Those are both op-ed pieces. They're not listed under op-ed. They're put on the front splash page. Opinions should be here. Let's go and see if that's actually on opinion. Okay. So those are not listed as opinion. Those are not news stories. Those are opinion. That's their opinion page. And here are two opinion pieces. How Trump turned conservatives against helping Ukraine. That is not news. That is opinion. And Biden's promised devastating response is largely symbolic. That is opinion, not news. Right there on the front page. Right there on the front page. Here are their columnists down here. So that is the Wall Street Journal. What has happened to a once proud publication that actually reported the news. Doesn't do that anymore. Now it reports opinion. Active faith. Brothers and sisters, Google what MAGA means, then you'll know which side you're on. Huh? Which? W-I-T-C-H? Yeah, that's funny. It's cute. All right, let me see who's been in the chat here. That's the news for today. 71 people still with us. We lost it. We got up to 91 there. 40 minutes in the broadcast, so thanks. Oh, Ronaldo is here. Well, hello, Ronaldo. How you doing there, man? Hey, Ronaldo, have you seen this? Have you seen this? I know Ronaldo's seen this. Ooh, check that out. Ooh. All right, cool beans. So actually, Ronaldo popped on here right after I said hello to everybody. I missed that. I've probably gone by now. It's past Ronaldo's bedtime, I'm sure. Hey, Ronaldo, how was that state of the province address there with the EFF getting in a fight there? I covered that. Erica says, got news today that someone else suffering from cancer. So, oh, my goodness. Someone from you went to school with died from cancer last time. Sorry to hear that, Erica. Boy, cancer is everywhere in South Africa. Ashley Engelbrecht is here. Garrett's still here despite the load shedding. Brian Lawrenson. Hey, Ads, how you doing? I rent it all out to pay back the loans. No, Ben, I got you. But most people don't have those resources. I don't have the money to buy solar panels. I didn't buy them. By the way, it's a terrible day for solar again. My goodness. Oh, 2 crappy days in a row. I mean, I was cruising along this month. I was going to set a record in the 4 months since I've been getting power generated from the solar panels. But now, 2 days in a row, just crap, clouds everywhere. Today, at this hour, I have just 5 kilowatt hours. Yesterday, I got a total of, was it 6.64? That was after getting 35 the day before. Wow. Yeah, crappy stuff. So for the month, it was looking good, but I'm going to be hard-pressed to beat the month. I got a week left now, 6 days left. Going to be hard-pressed to beat November's total. But anyway, so I'm approaching 2 megawatts of power I've generated so far, though nonetheless, pretty cool. Yeah. All right, what else we got here? Radine says, have you heard that Neuralink successfully put a chip in someone's brain? They can now move a mouse and click with their brain alone. I've heard people claiming that. Elon Musk loves that stuff. No, thank you. I mean, unless you've had brain damage, no thanks. ANC is hypocritical. Yes, they are, Helen. Hey, joking atheist uses superpowers. Oliver, good day to you as well. Welcome here. All right, Paulie says, but as a Hamas fighter, would you honestly just turn yourself in? Of course not. You don't agree with both my points? I'm telling you how the war can end. So if the ANC wants the war to end, if the ANC wants civilians to stop suffering in Gaza, they should be calling for Hamas to surrender. Now, surrender is different than turning yourself in, but I'm saying turn yourself into the IDF. It's a good idea to promote your candidacy. Your supporters give a $10 super chat on YouTube channels. Looking to get your name out there for primaries. I have no idea what you're asking, Gus. I have no idea what you're asking. I have a Gmail account, so I have a YouTube account in my candidacy, and I haven't been using that. I suppose I could do fundraiser on there, but that's just too complicated because they take the money. And then it conflicts with my personal stuff. So until I have a political action committee like Friends of Chris Wyatt set up, which I don't, I'm not taking donations. I think you would agree with everything. You need maintenance and security. Oh, yeah. Agree. Yep. Okay. Every year, just more tax. You are right, Oliver. More tax. Criminal enterprise ANC is taxing people in Stone Age. Agreed. ANC is used to throwaway society. Yep. Several fungi that can grow in crops. Thank you, joking atheist. Celebrate this year of the pig by increasing my weight to 25 kg. Oh, man. I stopped watching Game of Thrones. When they killed off Sean Bean, that was the end of the show for me. Can't watch that. Masters of the Air. Boy, he's still up on that. People still pushing that show. Dylan says, hey. Hate to break you, but I'm the wrong color, says Charles. Oh, you mean to be in the ANC? I won't live next door. Won't elect you there unless you move in the shack next door. Who lives there? Is this bed on bricks or paint? It's, I don't like the house. Mind you, it's probably close enough for a certain red Teletubby to be within range. An African Indian wants to be the garden boy. Okay. It's actually something I found in the Western Cape that I don't like. Most of the ANC executive cadres are living there. There you go. Okay. Allianz would be Tallians, all the Turkish immigrants. Ooh, Charles. Okay. South Africa would probably not happen under ANC governance. To do so would be an admission to the world that they were wrong. Exactly. It's hotter than Satan's bum in Bloemfontein. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks, RJ. And Courtney. Hey, Courtney's here. I called out sick. Are you running for office? I'm not sure I can support your campaign, but I do appreciate your friendship. Why do you keep saying that, Courtney? Why do you keep saying, yes, I'm running for office? It was announced earlier this week. On Wednesday, I announced it on this channel. I am running for state representative. 5 candidates in my primary race. So good luck to me. 5 candidates is a tough one. Anyway, yes, I am running. Your connection to Doug Mastriano will probably be a liability in your political career. I like how you're anti-woke, but your environmental views are rightly concerning. No, they're not. And what connection to Doug Mastriano? The fact that I served in the Army with him? The fact that I covered his campaign? What connection? How does that That doesn't affect me one way or the other. Doug Mastriano has not endorsed me. Doug Mastriano has not offered me any assistance for my campaign. Doug Mastriano is doing nothing with my campaign. He has nothing to do with it. So there's no positive, there's no negative there. So I really don't get you are making assumptions that are not facts, and you're making statements that are not true. Your environmental views are rightly concerning. How are my environmental views rightly concerning? Please do explain, Courtney. I know you're tired from lifting all those packages at USPS, but please tell me exactly how my environmental views are concerning. I'm a conservationist. That is the utmost steward of the environment. Those are people who actually protect the environment and renew the environment, not an ecological nut job that wants to deny humans use of the planet while letting all other animal species run wild. No, I can't reform the USPS because I'm running for state office, not for federal office. So, yeah, I can't reform the Postal Service because I won't be in federal government if I win. Yeah, so my environmental views are perfectly fine. People that are not in accord with my environmental views are people who obviously don't care about the environment. Just stopping by and congratulate you on your run for office. Down with the nasty bug at the moment. Oh, sorry to hear that, Jax. That you're down with the bug. Thank you for the kind comment. Yeah. In the WhatsApp group, links have been put up. If any of my viewers here want to go and boost my numbers for my campaign on my Facebook page and my Twitter account, to go there, just join it so you can follow the campaign. Please do that. If Hendo is still here, if he can put those links up. Kuban is here. Oh, wow. It has been a long time. Now you have a red rose, it looks like, as your avatar. Welcome back, Kuban. Where have you been? When people disappear for so long, I think something bad has happened to them. In today's age, conservationism falls short of what's needed to abide by the Paris Climate Accord. The Paris Climate Accord is a fraud, a total fraud. Brazil, India, China, not required to curb their emissions. It's a fraud. And conservationism isn't something to do with the Paris Climate Accord. Conservationism is being a good steward of the environment. You are conflating two completely separate topics and lumping them into one area and then saying that my views are questionable. No, you got it wrong, Courtney. You got it wrong. You got it wrong. Building hydroelectric dams and submerging prime farmland, disrupting water tables, that's not conservation. That's eco-wackos. Curbing carbon emissions has nothing to do with conservation. That is not land use. Curbing carbon emissions is a fantasy dreamt up by leftists to steal money from people with carbon credits and carbon offsets and the production of solar panels that are more polluting than hydrocarbon energy production. Today's age, conservation falls short. No, it doesn't. Can I ask Chris Wins, what is Chris's first week in office like? Well, filling out paperwork, taking an oath, filling out paperwork, being shown where my office is, being shown where I sit in the legislature, and then hiring people to run my local staff, because if I get an office, you have a local staff so you can be in your district to meet your constituents. Yes, I am following Amos Miller's dairy fight with the PA Department of Agriculture. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Teeny says it's a scam. What's a scam, Teeny? Oh, you mean the green stuff? Yeah. Yep. I'm off work tomorrow. I'm very happy to be able to get some rest. Yeah, no doubt. It's tough. I was awake most of the night. Oh, throwing. Good Lord, Courtney. Well, I mean, part of this, I suppose, Courtney, is you're not 22 and you've become a postal worker, so you're probably not as fit as you were in your 20s, and none of us are. So, yeah, that's probably a big stress on you entering that employment at that time. The green stuff. Yeah, Teeny, it is. It is. It is. It's a grift. It's a grift. Look, I have solar panels, but I don't have solar panels because they were environmentally sound. I don't have solar panels because they made sense, because they reduced carbon. They don't. It'll take 12 years before the amount of carbon it took to mine the material, to make the panels, to ship it to a location in, well, these aren't made in China, they're made in America, to ship it to a location where they make the panels, then to distribute the panels. Then the people who came around here burning carbon in their cars to come to my house to sell me on the panels. Then the guys who came and installed it, put it on my roof. All of that carbon produced to make those panels, to make them functional and turn the switch on in my house, will take 12 years before the amount of carbon produced by burning hydrocarbons. And by those 12 years, the panels will already be partly ineffective. They will have lost a lot of their efficacy by 12 years. So if you take the total holistic cost of solar, then you have a true picture, not what the left tells you. But I have solar panels because of the corrupt scheme that this state created and the federal government's corruption giving tax breaks for this sort of thing to the people who install it. They're going to install it in residential, and they got to find enough houses. So it costs me nothing. I have a monthly service fee to pay for it, but that's because I lease my roof. But I don't maintain the system. If it breaks, they're required to fix it, or they don't get paid. So they have an incentive to fix it if it doesn't work. If it's mine and I pay for it, I've got a huge debt of $40,000 for putting panels in my house. There'd be a lot more panels than this, though. And also, I wouldn't be getting the full amount of money. Under this scheme that the government created, the utility has to pay me for every kilowatt hour I put into the net beyond what I consume at the rate that they charge me. So it's a one-for-one swap. Whereas if I own the panels, they give me 1/3 of the money. It's a whole scam. So no, look, the only reason I have panels is because it made sense because of the perversion of the free market. The perversion of the free market by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania sitting in Harrisburg in the legislature. That's where I seek a seat, to go there where they've perverted this marketplace. This is all to comply with RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which is all nonsense. Well, I'm up to 5 hours at this hour. It's about 3 hours less than I had when I had productive days. Only producing 1 kilowatt hour per hour right now. What is this? Sorry. There's a journalist contact me, not about the campaign, something else. Christopher d'Abreton says, hi, from the Western Cape. Welcome, Christopher. How did you find the channel? I don't recognize your name. I don't think I've seen you here before. Courtney says, I'm still very fit. Walking 13 miles a day. Okay, 70 hours a week. Yeah. Oh, you're right. The mail is dirty and full of germs. That's why you should be wearing, gloves. Yep. Admiral Wyatt. Admiral. When did I become an admiral? Ramaphosa was in London begging for money from Master Charlie at the throne. Really? Crocotopia is back. Good to see you there. And it's okay if you're late. Better late than never. Get the views up. But views are down today. And it's a Friday, so that can be the case at times. In terms of cost, the carbon footprint to make a single lithium battery is a net negative, meaning it causes more harm than good. Not to mention, joking atheists, they don't recycle those batteries. They bury them in landfills. Then they leach into the water table and pollute the water table. So, yeah, not to mention all the wind turbines that kill tens of millions of birds every year, the aesthetically unpleasing nonsense of looking at these things, the aviation hazard they pose. In addition to that, they aren't recycled. These carbon fiber wind turbine blades are simply buried in landfills. The amount of waste produced by the green economy not accounted for by the left, which is funny because the left is always like the nonsense for years. Well, we need to eliminate gasoline and petroleum because people aren't paying the true cost. These companies, they're rapacious. They pillage the countryside to dig up these fuels and minerals, and then they don't pay the true cost. No one's paying the true cost. No one's paying the true cost. But when I suggest we look holistically at the true cost of solar photovoltaic or wind turbines or wave energy or hydroelectric power, suddenly they're quiet on the holistic cost. They don't want to talk about the rare earth elements that are dug out of tons of material to get a couple of ounces, the damage to water tables, the destruction of the environment, the upsetting of natural flora and fauna. They don't want to talk about that and the amount of carbon produced by that. They just want to talk about how, well, green is better. Courtney correctly says between Chris and me, he's the only Navy man. He's correct. He's correct. I wasn't bounced on my head frequently as a child. I didn't wind up in the Navy. Ooh, them's fighting words. Them's fighting words. I hope people realize that's just a friendly dig. You know, we love the Navy. They have really nice cruises. The left is an evil. Climate is a religion. It's religion. Listen, South Africa has an abundance of coal. South Africa has coal-fired power plants. South Africans have no electricity. That's right, folks. No, why? Because of, let's take a look right now. All right? Let's take a look right now. Let me open up my Eskom Sapush app. Stage 4 load shedding. Okay, are we update? Come on, give me an update here. Yep, power is off in Pretoria North again from 11 to 1 today. Stage 4. Oh, here's a reminder in the Eskom Push app reminding me to register to vote. There you go, register to vote by 23:59 today. Stage 4. Look at that. Adverts. They put adverts in the app. So it's supposed to tell me when electricity's off, but I'm getting adverts in my Eskom Push app. Isn't that funny? I'm an American, and I've got an Eskom Push app to keep track of the power outage in South Africa. Geese are aggressive, called algae blooms. I say, let's create wind turbines. Enjoy watching. Ooh, that's not very green or environmental there, Courtney. Which geese you talking about? Canada geese? Canada geese? Yeah, the Canada geese are nasty. They drop their feces everywhere. They have no sense of decorum. They are disgusting, loud, annoying, and yeah, vile creatures. And they're protected. And that's why there's so many of them. They're everywhere here. And they're nasty. They are nasty. Yes, climate people, it's a religion. They don't deal with the true facts about the issues when it comes to climate, which is a shame. Okay, so Christopher, it's good to see you there. You didn't respond, so you're not required to respond. I was just curious about how you found the channel or how long you've been here. Some people have been here forever and they just jump in one day. Yeah, so we've had a couple good videos the last few days. The amount of the last few days. So we did have the Steve Hofmeyer video on February 12th. So that's 2 weeks ago now, 13,000 views. I had the International Court of Justice rejecting South Africa's plea to intervene. It was 15,000. Then the ANC being broke. I thought that would do better. Show me the money, but I got 6,300. And then last night's video, EFF incites violence again, is 8,700. Let's see if that's correct. Because now it's 8,900. Okay, it's still growing, but slowly now. It had a steep curve initially, but now it's slowing down. So almost 8,900 on that one. Excuse me. And then for our lives, we had the no notice live I did that which ANC can't find Cadre deployment records. I got 6,900. And then my live stream for the news had 1,295 the other day. So those are not bad. I mean, not like the old days, but it's nice. Stuffed goose, better than turkey. Surprised the amount of solar panels here, but a friend says his pay him back very well. Well, I haven't been paid a penny for mine. They have reduced the cost of my electricity by, the consumption that I use. So I use about 17 kilowatts of electricity per day on average with all the things. So 17 kilowatts per day. So anything I generate over that is going to be banked. So looking at the past few days, I had a couple of really good days here. Let me take a look at that very quickly. Come on, that's not what I want. Okay, so going back the past few days, in the past week, this is what I've had. So on the 17th, 17.7 kilowatt hours. So I generated what I consumed over the course of the day. So essentially, I paid nothing for electricity that day. The next day I had 36, so it's more than double. So I got 19 banked hours. The next day it was 35. I got 18 banked hours. The next day it was 34. I got 17 banked hours. And then 34, 17 banked hours. But yesterday it was 6.64 because of rain. So I was 11 in the hole. And today I'm at 5.32. So I'm 12 in the hole. So there you go. So until the sun comes out, in the spring and summer, I won't be banking anything. And I only get paid once a year, and that's the end of May. So talking climate, some of the greatest engineers have already provided many solutions, most of which were suppressed. Profitability was always the first consideration. Well, lots of things can be done. We can put solar panels in space where they're not obstructed by anything, and we can send the energy down the way Tesla transmitted energy to the Earth's surface, and we get abundant energy that way from solar. But no one's doing that. Courtney's going back to sleep. Well, I'm sorry you're not feeling well, Courtney. Get some rest and take care of yourself. The climate change religion was started by a bunch of atheists and evolutionists who failed to acknowledge that the creator of our world built in redundancy to counteract any mismanagement of man. Well, that's a fair statement, George. I think appreciate what you said there. Yeah, no, it's the people who make these arguments are just idiots. They corrupt data, they misuse data to mislead people about what's actually happening in the world, and they're not making things better. Look what's happening in California now. They're destroying dams. What the heck? Who is that? Sleep well, Courtney. Yeah, this says Brian. There you go. Cool. Yeah, it was nice to see Courtney. He's working really hard for the Postal Service. It's not an easy job, folks. And they managed to lose a ton of money, which is a shame that they lose so much money. Oh, my goodness. What's going on here? I'm getting more stuff coming in here now. Oh, I'm going to have to deal with something as soon as I finish here. People just cannot behave themselves. They cannot behave themselves. Yep. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, no, let's not talk about climate. I mean, look, you should use what makes sense and is the most practical and hopefully the least polluting. That's what you should do. But I mean, quite frankly, human activity, animal activity does cause issue on the planet. An over concentration of people in one area or animals in one area leads to a production of terrible amount of sewage waste, which affects the natural environment. Whereas small bands of people, small bands of animals, ungulates on the savanna does not overwhelm the environment. But the reality is the world is heavily populated today by all kinds of folks. All kinds of folks. Teeny says, why? Why what? Why stop talking about the environment? It's boring. We all know that it's a religion. And the zealots like Greta Thunberg, you destroy the world. No, you and your jet setting destroyed the world, you crazy little wackadoodle. Yeah, people with solutions that aren't solutions. You know, quite frankly, what South Africa should be doing is building coal-fired power plants, burning coal, and then trying to cap and get a hold of coal bed methane if you've got it. Botswana has massive coal bed methane deposits. But isn't it ironic that the left 15 years ago called natural gas green? They called it green because it produces almost no carbon from burning it. Burning it is very effective. It's better than letting it flow free. Methane in the atmosphere is very much bad for carbon. But now they call it a greenhouse gas. They call it a polluting. They're saying that solar photovoltaic panels are cleaner than natural gas. That's nonsense, folks. It's nonsense. Teeny says I explained it wisely. Thank you. Joking atheist. Here we go with the atheist and the believer argument. I'm not getting in this. And you guys don't duke it out. Just I'm not going to get involved in that. Intelligent design, God, evolution, not getting involved in that. Debbie tells all. Hey there. Is that Debbie Ellis? Wow. Hey, Debbie. Debbie tells all. I like that. It's like Clarissa tells all. That was a great show. Yeah, that was a great show back in the day. I know, joking. You're just poking at him. I'm just saying I'm not going to get in the middle of that one. I'm not going to get in that fight. I'm not worried, man. Look, life is grand, folks. Every day is a blessing. You know, people take life too. I read this horrific story about this couple, and it doesn't make any sense to me. They had this girl who disappeared when she was like 16. No one had heard from her since 2002, and it's a really sick story. Her parents had her at home. She was bedridden on the couch and emaciated, and they finally found her. Oh, it's a really sick story. I mean, how people do this to other human beings is just beyond the pale. Life is so precious, folks, so precious. It is such a gift to exist, to have the ability to think, to reason, to communicate, to see, to hear, to smell. What an incredible gift, whether it's given by a deity or it occurs because of evolution and a couple little organisms. However life occurs, what an incredibly wonderful experience. Sadly, it's ruined by predators and murderers and rapists and child molesters and criminals and thieves. Do not let those people ruin your journey on this planet. Do not let that happen. Make the most of your existence. Do something. Always learn. Always strive to become something better. I mean, seriously. I just finished a program in December 2022 with Michigan State University and became a qualified beekeeper. I don't have any bees. Well, I have bees visit my house, but I don't have bees because I can't have beehives here on my residential property. But I became a beekeeper to know more about bees to help conserve and protect bees. The European honeybee is endangered always from lots of things. Colony collapse disorder, which really doesn't affect local beekeepers. That's mostly for industrial beekeeping, but also lots of fungi and other things that affect them and viruses. So I did that to expand my mind, to learn and to contribute more. That's what people should be doing with their lives. Learn more each and every day. Take a book out. Do something. You know, just grab a random book off the shelf. Got this one half off. I'm a bargain hunter. Fen, Bog, and Swamp, A Short History of Peatland Destruction and Its Role in the Climate Crisis. Probably a leftist book, but if you don't read what people say, if they're on the other side of the fence, then what do you know? What do bumblebees do? Well, bumblebees also pollinate, but they don't produce honey for us. A lifelong acolyte of the natural world, Annie Proulx brings her witness and research to the subject wetlands and the vitally important yet little understood role they play in preserving the environment by storing the carbon emissions that accelerate climate change. Fens, bogs, and swamps and marine estuaries are the Earth's most desirable and dependable resources. In 4 illuminating parts, she documents the emergence of their systemic destruction in the pursuit of profit. Wide-ranging and idiosyncratic, her explanation of wetlands takes readers to the fens of 16th century England, Canada's Hudson Bay lowlands, Russia's Great Vyuskin Mere, and America's Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge, introduced the 19th century explorers who launched the destruction of the Amazon rainforest. She was born in the 1930s, a time, as she says, when in ever-continuing name of progress, Western countries busily rape their own and other countries of minerals, timber, fish, and wildlife, which is the same thing other countries around the world are doing. So why are you just saying that the West? It's the rest of the world. She's written eloquently and persuasively about human rapaciousness in much of her fiction, most notably that Old Ace in the Hole and Barkskins, her magnificent novel about 3 centuries of global deforestation. Fen, Bog, and Swamp is both revelatory history and an urgent plea for wetland reclamation from a writer whose passionate devotion to observing and preserving the environment is in glorious display. Well, she's clearly a leftist, and she's born in 1930, so she's approaching 90 years of age, and she produced this book. Now, whether she's a leftist or not, she's still writing into her 90s and getting published. This was published in 2022. So, interesting, small book, but as a conservationist, I agree with the argument that fens, bogs, moors, and swamps have been rapaciously destroyed throughout the planet. But her attack on the West is garbage. It's a self-loathing, hate the West narrative. People have done this all over the planet. They did it in Samaria. They did this. They did this in the Persian Empire. They did this everywhere. Everywhere. Drained swamps, fens, and marshes. It isn't just the West who did this. This is garbage. By the way, the Amazon is not in the West. It's in Latin America, the developing world. We didn't rapaciously destroy it. The Brazilians did. So, that aside, an interesting topic. And a book I have yet to read, but one I will hopefully read very soon. So always expand your knowledge, learn about things, enjoy life, get the most out of it, folks. Yep. So this lady's still being published in her 90s. Impressive. Always good to read leftist and right-wing material. Gives you an idea how their minds work and prepare you against their attacks. Exactly, Crocotopia. Exactly right. Exactly right. So there'll probably be things in this book that I agree with and things I disagree with. But I'm not going to throw my toys out of the pram, because I'm unhappy, which is what most people, not most people, a lot of people do. Hey, Christine, welcome back. Music tonight, having a bad time. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're feeling better. Joking Atheist is happy about mosquitoes. Why are you happy about mosquitoes? Always good to hear. Okay, can't have good days all the time. That's true, Christine, but you hopefully strive to have the best day you possibly can. All right? Mason bees are better pollinators than honeybees. What are mason bees? Never heard of such a thing. Mason bees. And I'm a beekeeper. Maybe I have, and I'm just drawing a blank. They're not bees. Those things are insects. And they nest in holes. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Nasty little buggers. They can pollinate very efficiently. Unlike most other bee species that collect pollen from their hind legs, they and their bees use pollen collecting hairs. Oh, that's why they're more efficient. Okay. All right, mason bees. All right. Yeah, Gus. I'm familiar with them. I didn't realize they're called mason bees. No, George, not many mosquitoes here at all. We get a few, but no, not really. There's no wetlands near me. They're a ways from here, and no, the creeks near here are too fast flowing for creeks, rivers, and streams are too fast flowing for mosquitoes, so don't really get them here. Although down in the Susquehanna, there's some flat lands next to the river and some spots, and the water's a little bit slower on the side of the river, and you do get mosquitoes down there. But no, I mean, mosquitoes are everywhere, but not much here. I'll tell you a place you don't want to go. That's Maine in the summertime. Ooh, my goodness. Everywhere mosquitoes, man. Everywhere. Yeah, no, not a problem here. Teeny says something about politicians. What did I miss there? I missed something there. Yeah, you'd be happier if there are no mosquitoes whatsoever. I got that. I appreciate that. Yeah, mosquitoes are nasty little buggers. I'll tell you what, the ones that are really horrible are those evil mosquitoes, those tiny little mosquitoes that they have up there in Washington State. When I went out there in the summer 1996 as Cadre, for the Reserve Officer Training Corps Summer Advance Camp at Fort Lewis, there were two things that were the bane of my existence, because we would go out and we'd spend 4 days in the woods. You just go out with the cadets. They would navigate from place to place. They have exercises and events and, obstacle course and such. And we went out there, and two things drove me absolutely bonkers. They have these red ants that they imported from Germany into Washington State, which are very efficient at cleaning up carcasses and things like that in the forest. So when a deer dies, they strip the carcass clean in very short order, and they help keep the forest clean. But they are nasty, and they bite like a mother. And if you happen to put yourself down in your tent, your sleeping bag, or you lean up against a bush or a tree somewhere or on the ground, and you wind up in their path, they will bite the snot out of you, and they are painful. Nasty little buggers. So those ants are very frustrating. And they're alien. They're not indigenous to the environment. They were introduced there, just like rabbits were introduced to Australia. That was a dumb idea. And pythons introduced to America. That was a stupid idea. And then the other thing is the mosquitoes. These tiny little mosquitoes that, oh man, their wings are so loud. You can hear them in your ear, and they could bite through your clothing. And you could use DEET, you could use OFF, you could use anything you want, and they just would not go away. One thing that was somewhat effective is mosquito coils. That's something, a smell they didn't like, but then you stink like the mosquito coil. But it's better than being driven nuts by the biting and the sound of these things. Yeah, they're like fire ants, but they're not quite that. Yeah, so, mosquitoes and politicians are the same thing. Ouch, Brian. Ouch, 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 ouch. Bloodsuckers, is that what you mean? They're bloodsuckers? Yeah, I got you. Bloodsuckers. Ants are cool. Ant says ants are cool. Yeah, okay, I got that. That's pretty good. Ants are cool. Anyway, yeah, so I noticed that Hendo's not here. Interesting. So let me just go ahead and do that for those. I'm going to share this with those who might want to do it. Hang on a second here. 90 seconds. Jump up here. I got a folder for this. And I'm looking for... There you go. Okay. I'm trying to get a couple links here for people who would like to follow my campaign, which will run into April anyway. So we'll see how it goes after that, if it still exists after that. But for people who want to follow my campaign, this is where you can go. And please go become a follower or subscriber if you're on Twitter. There you go. There's my Twitter link. Please do that so I can at least get a few people follow me so it doesn't look so sad. There you go. And then also I have a Facebook page that I set up, and you can go there as well. So please join that as well. And then you can keep up on what's going on. Cool beans. And I could use the support over there if you don't mind. If you don't mind, I would appreciate that. So no pressure whatsoever. Just asking if you want to do it. And I'll keep mentioning this over the coming days so that people can find out about it and go there. I respect you as an academic. I would appreciate it if I could get in touch with you regarding a dissertation. Sure, RJ. I'm happy to do that. Email is is Hendo here to put the email up? I don't have the email handy for the channel. It is listed under the page for the channel, so you can find it there. What happened to Friday night super chat, peeps? Who's giving Chris a smile for the weekend? Oh yeah, super chats are slow today. Yeah, 83 likes though. That's good. We like to see that. What do we? I think we had less than that yesterday. Let me take a look real quick. Content very quickly. Yesterday's live stream, we had we did better than this. We had 121 likes. I didn't realize that. Out of 669 views. So people liked it after the fact. That's nice of people. I really appreciate that. It's kind of people to watch the broadcast after it's over, particularly when it's a news one. RJ says, thanks, you're such a legend. Oh, well, thank you, RJ. Appreciate that. It's I don't know about that. I wish the voters in this district would become aware of that and feel the same way so they vote for me so I can represent them in the state legislature. That's what I'd like to do. We'll see how that goes. It's funny, though, because when I was out doing signatures, let me talk about that. Would you guys like to hear that? You want to hear a little bit about my campaigning? Let me do that. Okay, I won't do a poll. Just tell me real quick. Do you just, yes or no? Do you want to hear a little bit about some of my adventures during campaigning? Because some interesting things happen. Not campaigning, but the petition signing period. So you have to take a petition around, get registered voters to sign it so you can appear on the ballot. Yeah, so Charles says sure. Gus says yes. Erica's on the wrong phone. Oh, sorry to hear that, Erica. Okay, there's a couple yeses there. So I was asked by one gentleman. He said, and this was a person who initially refused to sign my petition. The gentleman said, are you going to vote for Trump? And I said, yeah, I'll vote for Trump. And he goes, well, I'm not signing your petition. I said, oh, okay, well, that's fine. And he started saying that Trump was bad and evil. And I'm like, well, I can't argue with, he's a cad, he's a bore, he's disrespectful. That's all true. And then he went on, he said, well, he stole classified documents. I said, well, I was a counterintelligence agent. You can say the exact same thing about Joe Biden. In fact, if I was charged with investigating both people, I would have recommended that charges be brought against both of them. It's up to a court to decide their guilt, not for me as an investigator. Isn't that unique? Isn't that novel? James Comey, the FBI, not telling us who should be prosecuted, or not telling people are innocent, but saying, okay, you should file charges against them or not file charges. Yeah. Anyway, so then he started listening to me. We talked. We had a nice conversation, and he agreed to sign my petition later on. I didn't ask him again. He just said, here, I'll sign your petition, because he liked what I had to say. And then he asked me, he said, let me ask you this question. Would you be willing to take a pay cut? And I said, pay cut? Do you mean the salary for the legislator? He said, yeah. I said, oh, sure. And he looked at me, not in disbelief, but like, was I serious? I'm like, yeah. I said, today I receive $0 from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I simply pay them in taxes. So if I get elected to the legislature, $1 is more than I'm currently getting from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So if you want to cut the pay of a legislator, I have no problem with it, because I'm surviving today without that money, and I can survive tomorrow without that money. Dylan joined my Twitter. Thank you for that, Dylan. Is it true that they said Biden is not fit to stand trial due to his age? RJ, who investigated his mishandling and theft of classified documents, said that he's a well-meaning old gentleman who has memory lapses, and he would not, he would make a sympathetic witness, and so they could never convict him. He made an assumption that the jury would never convict him. And then he said that going back to 2017, the problem with this is that Joe Biden has documents that he stole when he was a senator, which unfortunately for her, that was released to the public, and we're aware of that back when this became a scandal in November, December. We learned about Joe Biden stealing these classified documents in that time frame. But he's covering back 2017. So her said he's not lucid enough to be on trial. Well, if he's not loose enough to be on trial, then he's not loose enough to be president of the United States. Follow me? Yes, exactly. Yet he's the effing president. Exactly right. That's the point I was getting at. No Facebook or Twitter closed years ago. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Crocotopia, but that's I don't have a web page yet. I don't have a big team and big money behind me. Although yesterday someone did offer to donate money to my campaign, unsolicited. They obviously like me and like what I stand for. So I have to get the PAC up and running, but I need a campaign manager to do that. So once I have a PAC up and running, and then we'll set up a website. But right now, that isn't the case. Yep. How come Biden is not a cognitive test? Well, remember when Trump, before he had a cognitive test, they said Trump, based on the way he reacts. Remember they got 100 or 1,000 psychologists to say Donald Trump has mental defect. Remember that garbage, the nonsense the left put up there? Just like the 50 intelligence officers who claimed that Trump did something he never did. They lied to the public. Remember they said Russian disinformation for the laptop, 50 intelligence officers, including the communists. A member of the American Communist Party, Brennan, former CIA director, a communist. That's like Joe Slovo being charged of intelligence in South Africa. Who puts a communist in charge of your intelligence? What do you expect the CIA to be other than undermining governance? Someone like that. Yeah, look in Cyril's couch. Absolutely. Meneer Pala Pala. Pala Pala. Where's my iPad? Somebody stole my iPad. It was here a moment ago. Excuse me. Have a fantastic weekend. Wife needs you. I'm off thanks to your channel, Chris. You're still a legend. Thank you, Joking Atheist. I appreciate that. I hope you hit the like button before you left. Yep. Anyway. All right. So there you have it, folks. Yeah. For those who missed my broadcasts when I was doing them earlier, that was because during the petition period I was signed. So that was one thing. Another gentleman asked me my view on homosexuality. And I answered his question honestly, and he signed my petition. A lady, I knocked on her door, and she said, "Are you campaigning for Trump?" I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not campaigning for anyone." this is a petition signing period, and I'd like to appear on the ballot to run for office in the primary on April 23rd. You're a registered Republican according to public records, and I would like to get your signature on my petition. Would you be willing to sign it? Well, can I ask you a personal question? Yes, ma'am. Are you going to vote for Trump? I said, well, ma'am, it's too late. The only choices we have are Trump or Biden because all the primaries have already closed. They'll continue now, but no more candidates can enter the primaries at this stage. So given those two choices, I have little option whether I like him or not, but to vote for Trump. Well, I'm voting for Biden. She slammed the door in my face, to which I said, well, good luck, ma'am. What am I going to say, What am I going to say? I'm going to lie to the woman. Anyway, so, yeah, it was interesting. Walking for 6-8 hours a day. On the weekends, 8 hours a day, not going to the bathroom because I'm going through residential areas. There's no store or petrol station there to go to the bathroom. I did finally, I did go for petitions in a part of the district, and there's a highway that cuts through the left side of the district, and I found a petrol station there which had a toilet. And of course, since I used the toilet, I purchased a drink, a tea, or some crisp or something like that. And that became my rest and refit stop. I would go there and go to the bathroom and buy something. But an interesting thing happened. I've been walking for about 6 hours one day, and a gentleman who's a retired warrant officer, pilot from the U.S. military, a man in his 70s, I rang his doorbell. He answered, and I told him what I was doing, and he welcomed me into his home. I walked inside because it was cold outside. I wasn't complaining. He just walked. He said, "Come in. It's warm in here. Sit down. Let's talk." We talked. He said, "Would you like a coffee?" Or I said, "No, thank you." "Do you need to use the restroom?" "Yes, I do. I've been 6 hours, man. My bladder warning light needed to be extinguished, man." Oh, Shawnee. Yeah, I'm running for the Pennsylvania State Legislature. There you go. 92nd District. And we just put up a few moments ago, if you go back up the chat, or I can publish them again, the Facebook and the Twitter links for my campaign. So that's what I'm running for. Let me just get those up again because you came in late. Come on, here it is. I need to put these in a text file so they're just handy because I have saved them in a Word document where I answer questions for a political action committee that's asking questions of candidates. So let me put that one back in here. This is the Twitter. So please, if you want to go, you don't have to be somebody who votes in my district to follow my accounts online. Just go there, please, and follow me. That's Twitter. And the Facebook page is here. Don't have big money behind this, and I don't anticipate any big money. It's a tough primary fight. There are 5 candidates, but I am the most experienced, and I would argue the most successful of the candidates in everything I've done in my life. Nothing against the other candidates. I'm not running a negative campaign. There's no point in that. There's no reason. Kevin Ziller says, "Are you going to advertise for campaign manager?" I'm not really sure how to do that, Kevin, and no one's really stepped forward to. People don't want to do things. It's hard to get people. I know that one person has a campaign manager because, there's a whole story behind it. I'm not going to get into it. But he's got it because the state senator is leaving the state senate, is endorsing him in this race, and so he's helped him get a campaign manager. Another person is involved in the Republican club and has got a lifelong friend as a campaign manager. So, but I'm not from this area. I've got a lot of people willing to support me. Most people that I talk to are very thrilled about my candidacy and say they're going to vote for me. Of course, we see what happens in April 23rd. But the point is that people aren't stepping forward to help for the most part. So I'm going to have, but I need a campaign manager. Honestly, the campaign manager won't have to do a lot, just be on the documents, and stay informed and can talk to me. But I've been doing all the strategy and planning, and I've had some help from some discreet folks who've been very helpful. Or two-tier ideology. What two-tier ideology? Well, Shawnee, I have to win. There's 5 people in this race in this legislative district. There's no incumbent, so that's an advantage. There is a debate on March 13th. They just changed the venue because there's a problem with the venue, and the time is supposed to be 6 in the evening locally. So, Ashley's done the Twitter and Facebook. Thank you for that. Because when you guys go join that, those things kind of snowball. If Twitter and Facebook see that and I post and people suddenly start joining it, it will build on itself. Thank you for joining it, even if you're not someone that can vote for me, but thank you for that. Also, when I post things, people can write comments on there too, so people can see your comments. All views besides rates, refuse, utility, security are irrelevant. It's not about ideology, it's about value for tax. Choose me, says Christopher. Okay. All right. I don't know, Paulie. I've asked them about broadcasting, and they weren't cryptic. I think the people doing it just weren't that familiar with what they can do. My suggestion is that they do Zoom or something like that, or Teams or something like that, and make it available to folks and put it out on Facebook or YouTube. The problem with putting on YouTube is YouTube likes to censor politicians, so we don't know. Facebook does the same thing too, but there's no reason to censor this debate. I think you'll find that there's probably not a lot of variance between the candidates. I've looked at some of their positions, and they're pretty much saying the same thing. So I think the race will be won on getting voters to your standard, drawing them to your standard based on who you are. And I think I can do that. So the problem is I just need to meet enough people and be in front of enough folks to hear what I have to say. And I think it'll go pretty well. Oh, there's already somebody hating on my Facebook page? Wow. That's interesting. I haven't been there. I have to go see that. Wow, that's interesting. So let me switch to that. Thank you for that. I didn't know that. Let me go see. Wow. That's not what I want. Didn't know that. Someone's already hating. I watched an article of you about the African National Congress, South Africa. We need to communicate. Okay. Is that the one you're talking about? Ah, somebody from Middletown says, hope you get elected. Okay, cool. That's nice. Okay. But Middletown doesn't help me out. That's at the airport. But thank you for the thought. I don't know if that's a hater. So is that what you were talking about? Kevin Ziller says, well, ask the person that sponsored you for a campaign manager. Nobody's really sponsoring me as such. Maybe I misspoke or you misunderstood. I got some people who are helping me discreetly, I said. No campaign contributions from abroad. I reported already. Nazi on my page? There's nothing on my page that says Nazi. What are you talking about? Where's that at? There's no comment on my page that says. Is it on Twitter or Facebook? There's nothing on my Facebook page that says anything about. It's only 2 comments. Where are you talking about, Charles? I don't see any hater on there. Where are you seeing this at, man? When did you report his hate speech? I never saw that, Charles. I don't look at it every 5 minutes. So wow. Right now, it's not there, man. There's nothing there. Which post is it on, Charles? Tell me which post it is on. Oh wait. Oh, this one has 2 comments. Only showing 1. Okay. Okay, no, not there. Okay. No comment. 1 comment. No, it's not there, man. Saw it under review. On the about, the about section. Okay. Well, this is the page. That's the page. Proud, transgender, queer, born in America, living in South Africa, hate Nazi, them. Raven Samuelson. Well, how do I remove that from my page? How do you get that off your page? Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, okay. That's some South Africans gone there. So I don't know, folks. I don't know how you do that. So it doesn't. It says review. Okay, so about. I just told it not to let reviews on there, and it's still there. Interesting. Huh. It's telling me I can't see my own reviews. Isn't that funny? Oh, they're gone now. Okay, I blocked it. Okay. All right, well, yeah, that's weird. Well, Charles, Facebook does allow that, particularly against conservatives. Also, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Yeah, I reported it hate speech too. Yeah, I got it, Charles. I found it. But you didn't tell me where it's at. It's under reviews. I didn't even know reviews were on the page. So anyway, yeah, so thank you for that. Try time tea with honey for your cough, 1 cup a day. Thank you, Little Miss Know-It-All. But you notice that the cough is greatly diminished from what it was. Thanks, Charles. Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. Again, I didn't, obviously a South African, so nasty person. So, yeah, I've saved that page from that person. Raven Samuelson, about. From Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Oh, I know who this is. This is that guy who... Wow, you should see what this guy... I went to this page where this guy wrote on. He says, F. Eamon Bundy, this is a racist sea-sucker who hates black people and deserves to rot in jail for the rest of his life. Wow, and that's allowed on YouTube, on Facebook? Wow, they are nasty. They are nasty. Wow, nasty people on Facebook. Yep, anyway, no, it's not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. I don't think that's the person. I think it's the guy who's on Outlaw Radio that's follows Billy, who got upset with me because I talked to Billy. No, I looked at all the comments. Thank you, Paulie, for reporting. Yep. Now, see, that's the thing. People that don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, like I don't spend a lot of time on there, so I didn't realize that that had been done because it's on the About page. I didn't even know that people could review your page without your permission. So it was by default set up for that. So I've turned off the reviews for the page. And people can comment on the post because on the post I can see them and what's going on there. And I can also turn off comments. As a politician, can you assist with a green card? No, I can't because I'll be a state politician. Can't assist with a green card. Sorry for that, African idiot. Yeah. No, the person that's on there, it professes to be a trans supporter and all this stuff. So they probably don't like me because I don't go with the delusions and I point out the facts about what's going on with transgenderism in America. They probably don't like that. Again, there is a very small percentage of the human population, less than 0.1%, who have gender dysphoria. And we should have empathy and compassion for people who have genuine gender dysphoria. Absolutely. Absolutely. They should have our love, our care, our concern, and our respect. But there is a group of people who are frauds, who are pushing an agenda which is harming people. And they need to be exposed. And I guess they don't like that. That's right, RJ. When you're taking flack, it just means you're over the target. Yeah, but that sort of stuff isn't necessary, Charles. People click on that and see what kind of person it is. I bet you if people clicked on that and took the moment to click on it and go where it went, look, I mean, you don't have to agree with me. I mean, Courtney thinks he doesn't agree with me, but that's because he misunderstands. Courtney, I think, has gone to bed now. He's not feeling well. But Courtney says he disagrees with me on the environment. He says my stance on the environment is questionable. It's not questionable. My stance on the environment is not questionable. It's backed by centuries of science and by astronomy and by agronomy and by physics. And it's backed by experience as well as a strong passion for conservationism. Conserving our environment, protecting it, renewing it. I'm not in accord with the environmental wackos who seek to make humans shivering, freezing, starving, miserable wretches. That's what they want from us. So, for instance, I would encourage South Africa to build coal-fired power plants, produce safe, reliable electricity, The newer plants you build produce less sulfur in the air, produce less carbon dioxide in the air because you have better qualified scrubbers. You have a better process for burning the coal, which reduces those emissions, which is better than existing plants. So build them, burn the coal, create safe, reliable electricity. And while you're doing that, we can work towards, fusion. And we can work towards green hydrogen. And we can work towards all kinds of things. But South Africans need energy now, not 30 years from now. Not 30 years from now. Pennsylvanians need energy now and need it to be less expensive. It's killing us, driving up food costs, driving up fuel costs, driving up the cost of living, salaries going up, unsustainable levels. We need a break from inflation. Inflation is caused by foolish macroeconomic policies. In a normal, functioning capitalist system, inflation would be caused extensively, almost exclusively by supply and demand. The more something is in value, the more it's desired, the higher the price becomes. That's inflationary. The less something's valued, but it balances out in the economy. So you don't have a lot of inflation. But when you artificially create minimum wage, when you attack the energy industry, when you impose fines and fees, unnecessary things on people, you create inflation. You drive up the price. When you put 58 cents a gallon on gasoline in Pennsylvania, the second highest state tax on gasoline, you hurt Pennsylvanians. When you do that, you hurt Marylanders and New Jersey's and New Yorkers because the trucking industry comes through here and buys fuel. And they have to push that cost on to the consumers at the end of that. When you do that and you spend that money foolishly, the governor of this state wants to increase the state budget by 8.2% this coming year, which if I get elected, I'll be a member of that legislature. But that budget will already be in place. We already have a small deficit. Now he's going to expand the deficit exponentially. Well, arithmetically, actually. Why? For what? What service is the state providing? What is it not providing that we need? We have tons of coal. It's what I would do. I would serve as the basis for ensuring a healthy economy. Exactly, Charles. It's safe, reliable, affordable, dependable. Well, dependable, reliable are the same. Energy. And that energy is coal. If you can get coal bed methane like Botswana can, I don't know the coal fields of Mpumalanga very well. I know the coal fields of Botswana, and I know there's a massive amount of coal bed methane there. And in fact, Botswana should be building natural gas power plants to use the coal bed methane, which would fuel their economy for decades. The Cadres are making too much money exporting coal, and selling rocks to Eskom, painted rocks. In other news, Michelle Phillips is the acting CEO of Transnet, but a few cadres are pushing back. She's not black enough. Oh, yeah, I saw that. I saw that she wasn't black enough. We can eventually move to greener energy, but for right now, coal suffice. Exactly, Charles. Exactly. China's not stopping building coal-fired power plants. They keep building left and right, 350 a year on average. They're building more and more and more. While they also put solar panels and photovoltaic and hydroelectric and nuclear in place, they're also putting coal in place. So why does South Africa have to ban coal? Why does America have to ban coal? America's energy has become so much more expensive. My average electric bill was $70 to $100 a month in even peak summer months when air conditioning was on. I had a recent electric bill of $278. I'm using less energy than I did when I moved in here. I keep the temperature in the 60s in the wintertime. And I keep it no higher than 68 or 68 or 70 in the summertime. Yet my electric bill keeps going up and up and up and up. The price of my electricity per kilowatt hour has gone from about 11 cents per hour when I moved here to 18 cents per hour. It's a 50% increase, nearly 40% increase. Why? Because of the war on energy, which is hurting consumers. Just not good. South Africa is being held to standards as a first world country, even though we're third world at best. Fair point. Yeah, Germany is buying the coal from South Africa. What's better than burning their lignite? And Japan is reconsidering firing up its nuclear power plants once again because they learned the wrong lesson from Fukushima. The lesson that Japan learned from Fukushima is that, nuclear energy is bad. That wasn't the lesson to be learned. The lesson was, hey, hire people who are competent. When a tsunami hits, they actually take the measures to shut down the reactors properly rather than run for their lives when they've got hours to do it. That's the lesson. And of course, the idiots in Germany, the Greens have always wanted to shut down nuclear power. Now they want it back. And the government there took advantage of it and said, well, look at this. We had almost had another Chernobyl at Fukushima. Well, nuclear power bad. Meanwhile, right next door in France, 85% electricity is generated by nuclear power. But the Germans, who produce 40% of their electricity through nuclear power, shut down their nuclear power industry. Under Angela Merkel, the ehemaligen Kanzlerin von ehemaligen DDR, Deutsche Demokratische Republik, the communist in sheep's clothing. That's right, the communist in sheep's clothing. Angela Merkel, one of the worst things ever happened other than Gerhard Schröder to Germany. Oh, and Adolf Hitler. Sorry, forgot about him. Yeah, so, yeah, that's right. I put them in the same book as Adolf Hitler. They were disastrous for Germany. Not to the same level. Hitler's disastrous for the world, but they were disastrous for Germany. They decided to shut down because Fukushima, bad nuclear energy, bad. So they shut it down. So there's only 2 nuclear power plants currently in operation in Germany. They were both supposed to be out of operation by March, a few days, but they've been extended because they don't have any power. Germans already pay the highest rate per kilowatt hour for electricity on the planet because of regulation, because of taxes, because of the high cost of doing business, and because they've shut down coal-fired power plants and nuclear plants. So Germans have no electricity. They pay through the nose, and they've crippled Germany's economic development and its growth. Not to mention the drain on the economy with millions of criminal alien invaders who Merkel let into Germany, who aren't German, who are getting Kindergeld for the 6 children they brought with them, paid for by the taxpayer, getting home loans, getting houses for free, getting stipends, while Germans are crushed by the weight of taxation. Unbelievable. What's happening in Mitchell's Plain, Acid? What's happening in Mitchell's Plain? Greens are little children making noise, not knowing what they want. Exactly, Andre. That's exactly what they are. All right. Erica's going to hit the rag. Yeah, it's getting late there in South Africa. It's late. Come on. What are you, 95? It's 8 o'clock. That's not late. Don't forget, tomorrow, folks, on Rugby Ascendant, I have 2 broadcasts. By the way, thank you, Charles, for finding that nasty comment. And I also reported it. So thank you all for reporting that. Yeah. What's that? Trying to read what's going on there. Anyway, yeah, we're over 2 hours, folks. It's a bit late, but we've still got a decent audience here, but it is time to kind of wrap it up. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. But please tune in tomorrow to Rugby Ascendant. I have 2 games going on, and depending whether I have any campaigning to do tomorrow or not, it'll depend on whether I do a news program on this channel, because the first game is at 9:11, second game is 11:11, which means I'll be done about 1:15, 1:30, which is already 8:30 in South Africa, so we'll decide. Maybe be a night owls. No, let me see if I can see it. Your review. Oh, you put a review and I blocked reviews. So, hang on a second. I don't even know how to turn it back on now. How did you review me? I mean, I don't understand how you reviewed me. I turned off reviews. This is weird. Unless you put it under a post. No, I don't see anything there. How do you review a site when... Edit details. Okay. Now reviews doesn't even show up there. There's nothing there. That's weird. That's weird. I'll turn on reviews. Views are public and influence your rating and cannot be deleted. Yeah, but it doesn't show up here. Okay, I don't know. It's weird. I don't get it. Not yet rated 3 reviews. I can't see the reviews. Facebook. I don't get Facebook sometimes. It's just annoying. So anyway, please don't go. Yeah, I can't see them either. Anyway, I don't get how it works here, so I'll just turn it off and save it. Anyway, I didn't even know reviews were something you could review somebody's page. Anyway, so I got 16 likes, just 16 likes. Look, if you subscribe, please like as well. Please like as well. Facebook is weird. Eat more greenies. Environmentalists? Andre says thanks. All right. Well, Charles, take that sparkly review and post it on one of my videos there, okay? Please do that, okay? Go to the video and, watch the video and then leave some comments there. That would be helpful. Thank you for that. Same with Paulie. Go do the same thing. All right, guys, that's it. We're going to wrap it up here. Have a good day. I've got things to do. I've got some mess I've got to unsort here with the Veteran Service Organization, it looks like. So thanks a lot. I'll see folks tomorrow morning for Ireland, Wales at Aviva Stadium, and then I'll see you for Scotland, England. Yeah, so tune in for that. You're welcome, Hester. My pleasure. Thank you guys for being here. Awesome. We got 100 likes. That's cool. Cool beans. Cheers, everybody. Good night. Be safe.